There was a photojournalist here. Her name is Amy. I'm going to take her out. She's documenting the intersections of child protective services, child separation services, and houselessness. So if your case had anything to do with housing insecurity or houselessness, please go check her, okay? Everyone got that? Who's over there? Over there.
I want my children back. Give me my children back. Stop being animals.
But I'm the mother that replied viral the day that she took out to see this. I knew Veronica Koss came to illegally remove my newborn infant, said she couldn't answer me, and I said, what are my allegations? The father was there, however, we had peaceful contact. The cops did not arrest him that night, and that night I saw the most powerful thing I've ever seen. I saw a Burbank PD officer hugging a felon, and they both had tears in the eyes when they talked.
Stop stealing our children! All of you powerful fathers and mothers and aunties and grandmamas, please look this way. We have some powerful speakers who are about to take the stage. And we need to start this in a good way. So, we've already started it. There's already been powerful people speaking. So let's just keep it moving so that we can keep the noise. And these legislators will have to listen.
Who have been parent alienation, and
I want to ask you,
and I don't care if retaliation, because guess what? I got nothing left to lose. My life, you took it already.
Well, guess what? We're here. You see all of these people? This is just a portion of who we are. You will no longer be able to continue to abuse us. We're standing up for our rights. We're standing up for our children's rights.
Stop stealing our children!
Standing right here. She's going to get her rights, regardless if you want her to get her or not. My name is Angelique Fawcett.
Okay, so first of all, because we are all colors and cultures and peoples, we also have to start by recognizing that we are on stolen Nisenan Maidu Indigenous territory. And before we go on any further, we need to recognize the first peoples, the first victims of this colonial terror. The same ones that steal our babies. The same ones that abuse our parents. But that are here 529 years later doing the same evil mess. So if I can ask everybody, if they are able, only if you are able, to bend down and touch Mama Earth for just a second. Thank you, Creator, for another day of life. Thank you to the first peoples of this occupied Maidu Nisenan territory. Thank you for resisting and fighting and for still being here 529 years later. And we are so sorry that this colonial terror began with you. But we know that the fight continues, and we appreciate you for welcoming us in, for making sure mamas and papas and aunties and grandmamas and grandpapas' voices are heard today about this absolute corruption and abuse. We thank you for opening this space, and we thank all of you beautiful people for moving with truth and love together on this occupied land, so that together we can liberate our families, our children, and this stolen Mama Earth. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for that. We're going to ask Sister Leah to come in and do libations for our lost African ancestors and ancestors in the diaspora. One more thing we're asking before we start the speakers.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, family. For those of you that don't know, libations is something that's sacred to us in the Black community, and many times we pull on our ancestors for everything that we need as we struggle through systematic oppression such as this that we're talking about today. So what we want to do is hold space right now to those of our children, of our ancestors, of our loved ones that have been lost, whether it be systematic oppression, whether it be slavery, industrial complex system, whether it be out here with community crime, crime against the police, and crime with the police against us as a community. So it's very simple. We'll do it very quickly. What we want to do is, after we yell out a family member's name, so if you can yell out a family member that has lost, yell out their name, we're going to pour some water out, and then you simply just say Ashe. Okay, Ashe is that I agree. Ashe is I'm here, I commit, and Ashe is that I am reserved to submit to our ancestors. So it's very quick, it's very easy. Those of you that have lost, if you can yell out their names, please.
Little Felicia!
Little Felicia. Perfect. Yes. Keep going, keep going, keep going.
Liam!
Ashe, Ashe, keep going. Ashe, Ashe, keep coming.
Aaliyah!
Ashe, Ashe, keep going.
Aiden!
Kendra!
Ashe. Yes, keep it coming, keep it coming. So that's very indicative of why we're here today. Thank you guys so much. And that right there just lets us know that our land is governed by our ancestors and everybody that came before us. And in order for us to stand here today, we had to walk in somebody's path. And so now we are here to create our own path. So that's what we're doing here today. So I thank you. We'll get started with the program today. Everybody can please say Ashe. Thank you, thank you.
CPS, APS, and all the S's that lead to our babies and our elders being tested and arrested. Mamas, papas, don't show your real feelings of sorrow or distresses. Don't admit to poverty or homelessness or any stresses. No mandated reporters here, rooted in racist, classist, capitalist fear. The lie of ghettoization and this separation nation. Each seizure of our babies is blood-stained dollars for the colonial domination. Can I get a witness? So again, welcome to Stop Stealing Our Children! Do you hear us, legislators? We're not going away. We are not going away. And we need our babies back. We need our elders back. From conservatorship to the light of CPS. They all be taking and breaking our families until we don't got no more left. So at 11 years old, my mama and me made the mistake of being houseless in public. And guess what? I was taken and put in a dangerous foster care shelter where I was molested. Was I any safer? No! Hell no! Me and Ma lived in a car, yeah. We lived on the street, yeah. But guess what? We had each other. And my mama would fight anybody to protect me. Can I get a witness on the mamas? And the papas and the uncles, we do not stop fighting until our babies are safe. Whether or not we have a so-called roof, whether we not have all this money in our so-called banks, we love and protect our babies. So this is about us taking that power back. This is about making sure they are listening to us and stop stealing from us. And so today we have some powerful speakers. We have already had powerful speakers. I want to give it up to the brother who was saying the truth before. So much truth. We are going to be making sure that they hear our voices, and that's why we're here on these colonial steps. So I want to call up first, with love and respect, a brother named Mark Andrews, who's an impacted father and a parent advocate. If Mark's not here, someone in his stead. Mark! Let's go, Mark! All right, give it up for Mark Andrews!
Thank you very much. My name is Mark Andrews, and I'm running for the 9th District Congressional seat in Lodi and Stockton. I'm an impacted father in this family court and CPS movement. My own case has lasted 20 years in the courts. I've taken it all the way to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and Federal Judge William Orrick III had the audacity to tell me with airtight evidence that Commissioner Louise Bales Fightmaster in Sonoma County had absolute immunity to alter transcripts in my case to cover up her crime of denying me civil rights under the law. That's absurd. I took it to the Ninth Circuit and I was thrown out of court as frivolous. And yet we're still going back because fraud upon the court has no statute of limitations and is the one crime that is completely unacceptable in the courts. I also have a CPS story. I've been helping this mother here, Michelle Garcia, down in Burbank. She saw my video on YouTube that Kids Matter produced, the nonprofit out of San Diego. If you type in Kids Matter fraud, look for me in this lovely purple shirt, you'll see the evidence that I brought to the federal court. But Ms. Garcia saw my video and I went down to start helping her in her case, and CPS was so appalled that I presented the law to Michelle and her lawyer that they told the court that I had committed atrocities in the case, and I believe it's Commissioner Birdsong out of Pasadena issued a restraining order against me, and I've never been given notice, never been given a chance to present my side of the story, yet there's a restraining order issued against me in a court of law 500 miles south of where I even live. I actually have a place down there as well, but I generally reside up here in Napa. So I know there's some other people who want to come up and speak. My name is Mark Andrews. I'm a candidate for Congress in the 9th District. I could definitely use your support and donations, and I approve this message. Keep it up, people. Our kids are not for sale. Let me hear it.
Our kids are not for sale!
Our kids are not for sale.
Our kids are not for sale!
Not a dime of federal money should be used to take our children away when they are breaking the law in the system. Thank you.
End federal carrot and stick programs now!
Imagine this. Imagine being a child and losing everything you've ever known or loved in the blink of an eye. Your house, your pets, your home, your community. Everything just gone. And now all around you, all you see is darkness and all you feel is pain and loneliness. This is the reality for far too many children ripped from their parents and then left to rot in foster care. We as a society must work at all costs to keep families together, because family destruction in itself is child abuse. And so today I'm going to share my personal story, and then I'm going to talk about some of the issues and propose a solution. I was abused and neglected as a child. And at 14, I was raped in a filthy, abandoned house that reeked of mold and urine and decay. I will never forget how disgusting and helpless I felt at that moment. And for so long, I carried with me the scars. And the weight of it all caused me to struggle with substance abuse, unemployment, and housing insecurity. Then one day I met a handsome and charming man, and he swept me off my feet. He said, "Come with me to California. Marry me, we'll have a family." And so I left all that shit behind, and I came out here chasing what I thought was the American dream. Well, I'm sure most of you aren't too surprised. The marriage was doomed. My husband was abusive. And after our son was born, I was trapped with nowhere to go and nowhere out. And so what do you think happened when I went to get help? That's right. Child Protective Services tore my son from me and thrust me into an unimaginable, never-ending nightmare. I, the victim of domestic violence, was charged with failure to protect. My son eventually came home. But after he did for so many months, he woke up in the night screaming. Have you ever heard the screams of a tormented child? They pierce the heart like a searing hot sword. You know, I still advocate for children and families today, because when I close my eyes, I still hear his cries. and I still feel his pain. How many children are out there just like my son, suffering because they want to come home? So why is this happening? This is happening because Child Protective Services lacks accountability, oversight, and transparency. This is a system where you are guilty until proven innocent. Children can be removed from parental custody without a warrant based on allegations alone before anyone has had a chance to defend themselves in court. I ask you, where is the justice when children are removed for minor issues? And then in the worst case scenarios, they're placed in foster care and group homes where they are starved, raped, beaten, murdered, and trafficked. Family separation is state-sanctioned violence. This system needs to be either abolished or radically transformed. Social workers lie, and no one is getting fair trials. And so today we stand here as a collective power united, as families united, we resist together to demand an end to the oppressive, unjust, dehumanizing practices of the family policing system, to demand effective and competent counsel right from the onset, to demand a repeal of the Adoption and Safe Families Act, which fuels the destruction of American families by incentivizing forced adoption. We are all here today because we, the parents, we, the families, are fed up. We're here today to send a message to the world that the families have united and we are coming for our children. We're coming for our grandchildren, our brothers, our sisters, our nieces, our nephews. We have united and we are coming for our children, our families. Together, we can and will change the world. And so finally, I want to leave you guys today with a poem that I wrote called Shadows. Because the sun don't shine here no more, the world is not itself. No laughter, no purpose, no common sense, and yet the vaguest memories of my son still linger. I walk past empty playgrounds, see my son's empty bed and his toys all gathering dust. The stab of loneliness is unbearable. If only I could smoke away the hurt. If only I could shoot myself into another existence. I want out, but there is no escape because to run away would be to abandon my son, to abandon all hope. And so I stay. Here in the darkness I fight. And I will keep fighting. Even long after I find my own light and my own son comes home, I will fight for all the children. I will fight until all the light returns and all the children are home. I will fight until this madness is over. Rise up and fight with me. Thank you.
Our kids are not for sale!
Our kids are not for sale!
CPSs and all those S's just keep causing all this distresses. I just want to lift up every single one of y'all because we know that they expect us to stop fighting. They put us through these hoops that are impossible to ever jump through. Can I get a witness on their bullshit psych evals? Can I get a witness on their bullshit home inspections? Can I get a witness on their arbitrary bullshit about who's fit and unfit? Okay, that's what we're rolling back today, family. And I'm so honored to be in front of you. For those of you who don't know, I'm Tiny. Poor Magazine, I go as Poverty Scholar. After the story that I told you, me and Ma did not get off the street. We were on the street for many more years because that's how poverty is. Hello. And we were swept like they be doing all around here to poor people with these police fans are the same ones that abuse our poor families. So I just want to lift up the work of Poor Magazine, California Families Rise, Impact, and all the beautiful folks who are here today from all your different places and spaces. So I'm going to call up Fred Stasik, another impacted father of a special needs child. Give it up for Fred!
What a great introduction. My name is Fred Stasik, and My son was taken by the state specifically to prevent me from criticizing the doctor who had nearly killed him with a tawdry technique and a dubious diagnosis. It took a decade to get him back. But this is what I learned. I learned that family rights are fundamental rights. And certainly we have the right to raise our family and to be raised by our family. Yet it is family rights that are violated as a matter of course within CPS dependency court. Straight out the gate, they take your kids along with your hope, your trust, your stability, your money, your future, your dignity, and your family, all willfully inflicted by a state institution with too much power and no accountability.
Amen!
Great harm is done. Profound principles are violated, yet there ain't squiddly dot you can do about it. So what do we do besides protest and cry out in the wilderness? Who do we have to tell to get some service around here? Can we talk to their boss?
No!
Well, their boss happens to be the President of the United States of America. And the President also happens to be the leader of the free world, second only to Volodymyr Zelensky. This President knows the depth and meaning of the importance of family. So, Mr. President, President Joe Biden, if you're listening, hear our plea. Meet with us, because if anything on God's green earth needs to be built back better, it's this corrupt institution.
Amen!
And actually, it doesn't need to be built back better, it needs to be built back right, because rights are violated right and left. So host our delegation, Mr. President. Stand with those who fight for freedom and for family rights.
Freedom and family rights! Families have rights!
And so for those who are here today, boots on the ground, fathers and mothers, sisters and brothers, fellow freedom lovers, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for standing up for these mighty principles.
Power to the people!
And as we learn, rights don't protect themselves. Somebody's got to do it. And so God bless those that do. God bless the heroes of freedom.
Amen!
So a lot of people talk about defunding the police. Yeah, I did call them that. What about defunding CPS? What about abolishing CPS? What about family restoration, not more family separation? I want to call out to my beautiful Mama D, Afro-Boricua ghetto scholar, for without whom there would be no me. Because she did transition, and not before CPS messed with us again. And the reason I bring her up is because she made it through their institution, got their paper, and worked in the social work field for just a little bit, and was actually practicing family restoration. And guess what? She was fired.
Yep.
Because they said you're not working in tandem with the state. What does that mean? That means you ain't making money for the state. So let's not get it twisted. As a brother said before, they make money on our babies. Stop selling our babies. $12,500 every time they take a baby out of our home. Don't get it twisted. This is trafficking by another name. So we're gonna, that part, everything. We're going to bring up a powerful sister, Mama Venus Gist and Kathy Rodriguez on conservatorship, which we know is another system to take our babies. Conservatorship, which basically just takes our elders right up out of their home, right off of their land, and gives them nothing in return. Come on up. Give a big round of applause.
As I said, my name is Venus, and you guys are doing an amazing job today. Yes, they're picking on both sides. The youth, the young people, the children, the babies, and then the seniors. What bullies. You know, how out of integrity.
Wait, when they turn 18. They don't even take care of them when they turn into adults.
Not accountable to anybody except their 6 figures and their lifestyles. It's terrible. My mother was conservative. My name is Venus. Like I said, we're from Alameda County. Kathy and I, she'll be up here shortly. Alameda County, Berkeley court system abused my mother and tried to allegedly kill her. What my family and I did, and I'm going to make it quick on her story, because my story is rare. We went in, got together as a family, because you know they like to prey on the family, you know, conflict. We went in, we got together, and said if we don't get her out of here, they're going to kill her. And we went in the facility and took her out against the court order. And took her home. Yes, we did.
Take control!
You can't kill my mother. She went home. They sent the police to our house. We didn't open the door.
That's right.
We went back to court. The judge was mad. Okay, well, we were mad too. And I'm just thinking these politicians, or any politicians out here listening to us in the audience, that it's all about the action. If they're gonna act like thugs and criminals in the courtrooms, then we have to act accordingly if they're not doing their job properly. And what I have put here, we're in Alameda County, and we have been able to speak to our politicians. They have opened their doors. Board of Supervisor Nate Miley, Bob Wachowski, he has an office here. We've been in their offices, we've talked, and we've made some progress with them, but there's a lot more work to do, as many of you know. We've talked to Berkeley City Councilman Ben Bartlett. We're talking to Pamela Price now, who's running for DA. Nancy O'Malley is out. She didn't do anything for us but get our votes. And so it's all about the politicians and public servants who will make a difference. Who will make a difference. You know, Supervisor Richard Vallier, he's made a difference too. We have not yet met with our presiding judge. I want to talk to all of you in your counties. Go to your presiding judges because they run the courtroom. They're supposed to be taking care and knowing what's going on in that courtroom. It's all about the action. Write a letter and then show up in numbers. Go big or go home. There are many of us out here and out there. You're gonna have to come together in numbers to make a difference. Does that make sense? I mean, one person going into an office doesn't make a difference. We've seen that.
United front.
That's right, you gotta go big. So somehow in your counties, find out who all your politicians, your public officials are, your public servants, county council. You know, we have a legal assistant for seniors. They're supposed to be attorney ad litem. They didn't do anything. And call them out. They hate to be exposed. The Bible says, expose the unfruitful deeds of darkness. Have nothing to do with them. You got to expose them. You got to come together. And we are coming together. This is good, but we got to keep the numbers big. Because they do their dirt in the dark.
Yeah!
You know, one person, you know? And then they keep your families divided. It's terrible. We need facts, not emotions. We need to get them in their pockets. So if you gotta go, do what you gotta do to follow laws, get your money back, do whatever you have to do. You gotta hit them in their pockets. They're hitting our pockets, billable hours. It's gotta be stopped. Somehow we have to propose a bill to control those billable hours.
Speak the truth!
Yes, this is where they're hurting us. And hey, I'm not telling you what to do, but if you have to go in, if there's somehow you and your family members in the neighborhood can go in and get your loved one and pull them out, your children, get them. And then go to court and deal with it. I don't know, what are we gonna do? The laws, we have great laws in California, but they don't enforce them. What are we gonna do? We gotta fight back. You know, we need media, complaints, filing complaints, and demanding investigations with the right agencies, all right? We need to wake them up, wake up the media, wake up the politicians, we the people. When it says the government comes up against the people, you know, it used to be that way. The people, well, no, you don't run it, we do. That's what we gotta remember. And when the government is not responding to the mistreatment of we the people, then we the people have to rise up, confront them. You know, they're murdering our elderly people, abusing our children, pedophiles and raping them and coming back with all kind of weird things on their body. I've seen it. Crazy. We can't take this. Not at all. We go big or we go home. And what do you say? We go what? We go big. You know? We got to get busy. We can exchange information. We can stay together. We can connect. My mother, I want to just say this before I leave, passed November 2021, last year on Thanksgiving Day. She was home. She was at peace. She was with her family. I can show them before and after how they took care of her and then how we took care of her as her loving family. Just like you all take care of your kids, loving parents. And they want to take them and abuse them and assist them for money. Not at all. We can't allow it. Thank you very much. I'm Venus Guest. If you want to exchange information, I'm here to talk to and exchange. It's a fight, and I'm willing to fight with you. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Nice job.
Hi, I'm Kathy Rodriguez, and I'm going to give you a short little scenario. I was a CPS kid. I got taken away when I was 8 years old until I was 18. I lived in 32 placements. So I know your pain. But I was a child. I didn't know what the parent went through until I started going to Michelle Chan's meetings and hearing what the parents went through. The day my mom died, we had a restraint. Not a restraint. We didn't have no kind of relationship because I always thought my mom didn't love me and she didn't care for me. But when I heard you parents, your stories, I could imagine what my mom went through losing her 4 children, okay? Losing them to a system that is corrupt, that is not for family unification. They're for family separation, for money, you know, for money and profit and power and control. So you know what I did? I got my act together, went to college, got a degree, and start working in the probation department with youth, okay? And the reason why I did that, because back in my day, social services used to run juvenile hall. So when we were uncorrigible, guess where they put us kids? In juvenile hall. So I learned how to grow up in juvenile hall for being, you know, not listening to my mother when I did go back to her, okay? So I know what the system did, so I went back into that system and started giving them young people hope that you can change. You have the ability to change. You don't have to be a statistic, okay? So now getting back into, so I told you that story. So I'm now that's our booth over there. Me and Venus are going to be meeting with the Attorney General with Nate Miley. He's going to set up the meeting where we get to go in and meet with. So if you guys want to write your story out, there's a board over there to sign your name, your email, and I'm going to send you all the information so you can send us the letters. And we're going to go in there, we're going to represent CPS and guardianship corruption, okay? The reason why I'm involved in guardianship corruption is because my aunt, if you go over there, there's pictures of my aunt. This is my aunt when I was allowed to take care of her. She looked beautiful. This lady raised me off and on when I went through the system. She taught me how to be a girl, okay? They took my visits away, okay? I'm a peace officer with the state of California. I got no record, no nothing. They took my visits away from her. This is her 4 months later after social service public guardian had control of her. This is 7 months later, she died under their care. But yet, they tried to blackball me. The reason why they tried to blackball me, because it was all about the money. Me and my aunt owned a property together, and they wanted me to give it up and sell it so they can get the money. And I said no. So they started going to court and blackballing me, saying that, oh, they don't know how I got the house, and, you know, so on and so forth. But yet, we bought that house 15 years ago. Now 10 years later, now you guys are getting involved, and now you guys want to say there's corruption? That's how they work. They go and they slander families, they slander your name. You could be the greatest person. You should be taking care of your kids. You should be taking care of your family. It should be family first. There's no reason why my aunt couldn't have came and stayed with me. My aunt dies, but you know what? I'm a guard. Now I'm a public. I'm a conservator for a perfect stranger. I helped that family out. They tried to do the same thing to this 88-year-old man, so I hid him out in my house, one of my houses, and then they asked me to be the guardian, so I became the guardian, and now I'm finding out all the things that other guardian that was trying to rip him off, all the things that he did wrong, because I'm getting all the paperwork now. Didn't file taxes for 4 years. You know, I got to fix all this stuff. I'm very good at money management, let me tell you. I'm a single person. I own 2 homes, and I know how to make things happen. The reason why we're here today, make sure you go to our booth. It's right over there, and then Michelle's booth is right over there. Make sure you guys sign up. I just want to thank all you guys for coming out, because you know what? It's really important. Because what these people are doing, I work for the same system they work for. I work for Santa Clara County. And so I know the government process. And I know, you know, what to do, because my job trained me very well in investigating. I'm investigating these people right now. I got so much evidence. Eventually, I'm taking that evidence to the Attorney General and to the Board of Supervisors, to public people, and to the police, so they could go to jail. They literally killed my aunt. So these people, what they do is that, so her death certificate said one thing, right? And I had to literally hire an attorney. They didn't want me to have my aunt's body when she died. So I had to hire an attorney to go get my aunt's body and give it to our family so we could bury her. But I had an autopsy done. What my aunt died from and what that death certificate says, 2 different things. I found neglect, abuse. She had severe septic. So you got, when you guys go through this, you got to dig deeper and deeper, because that's how you got to make a stand. You got to go beyond the box that you're used to going through, right? And you got to do thorough investigations. Don't let these people know what you're doing. Because eventually, all of us together, we're going to stick together, because you know what? It's all under the umbrella of Department of Social Services. Department of Social Service has CPS. Department of Social Services has the Public Guardian, Adult Protective Service, Children Protective Service. It's all a racket. I'm going to tell you, you can't give up. You got to keep on fighting, because you know what? Someone found out their addresses, so we went to each and every one of their homes. There was like 8 different people. We went to their homes, we protested with all them signs, passed out flyers to all their neighbors, let them know what they really do for a living. You know how they humiliate you in court? You go humiliate them in their neighborhood. That's what you gotta do. You gotta fight back. You gotta fight back. Through that fighting back, there was like 6 of us that went. You know, through this whole ordeal, 3 years, the first 2 years, I had to fight 8 restraining orders. 8 restraining orders. Hey, I can make the Guinness Book of World Records, let me tell you. 5 of them I won. The other 3 is against the county employees. We went and protested in front of their houses. There was no violence, no acts of violence, none of that, okay? So they all got a restraining order. I'm taking it to the appellate court. And I'm going to pay money to win that, because you know what? We got to show these people. They ain't messing with our family. You want to mess with your family? Go ahead. But they ain't going to mess with our family. You guys got to stand. You got to fight back, because these people are dirty. They're dirty. They don't care about none of us. All they care about is this, the money that's going in their pockets. You know what we need to do? We need to take their money. You know what I mean? We gotta fight back. And I just want to thank each and every one of you. Don't forget to go to the booth over there, sign up, because you know what? I'm fighting for CPS. I was one of them. I know what they did. I have a sister who's 10 months older than me. She died because my sister, when she went in foster care, she was raped. at different foster homes. She ended up going to prison. She went to jail. She started getting involved in crime and violence because she couldn't deal with the trauma that she went through. That didn't happen to me because I'm like a crazy kid, you know what I mean? I don't know, people, because I got a mouth, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing that for? To where my sister was more, you know, reserved, and then she became more angry and, you know, ended up going through the system. She was the first girl to go to California Youth Authority at the age of 12 years old. And she was in and out of prison for 35 years, to where my sister finally died of liver cancer. And it was because of CPS. They did it to her. And we got to fight back because they'll do it to your kids too. I love my sister. I loved her so much, and she had to die because these people are sick. And we got to stand and we got to fight back. And I just want to thank you guys all for coming out and supporting Michelle. Michelle, yeah, Michelle. But thank you.
Give it up for those two powerful warriors. See that houseless mama-daughter sleeping in a tent? I said, see that houseless mama-daughter sleeping in a tent? That's because we don't got money for the rent. Yeah, we live in a whole capitalist system. Yes, I did say capitalist, that makes money off stealing babies, stealing land, and stealing lives. And so don't get it twisted. The police, the CPS, the APS, all of them are connected. And it is predating on poor people, black and brown people, and folks who don't necessarily fit into this bullshit idea of normal. So again, taking those spaces back is extremely important. What we're doing here today, that's absolutely revolution. And can I get a witness? Stop stealing our children! Let's bring up a warrior who stands out in the over-rich people area called Marin County, who's had so many houseless mamas had their children stolen in that area. Can we give it up for Robbie Powelson? Robbie, where are you at?
Go, Robbie!
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tiny. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you, Crystal Rose, and all the wonderful people out here today who are holding it down vigorously. Because this, honestly, you know, when in Marin County this last year, it's been like tooth and nail. They're crushing people's homes out on Richardson Bay. They're crushing people's boats that they live in. They impound and steal people's cars. They've been sweeping people's tents. Right now we got like 14 lawsuits in the county just holding back police terrorism. And part of the mechanism of police terrorism is CPS. We've had mothers with newborn babies. One of the most sacred things in this world is a mother giving birth, who are hiding, who are afraid, and because for good reason, because when they had their baby, having it ripped out from their arms, having a warrant issued for their arrest because they didn't want to turn over their baby, and the reason they lost their kids because they didn't have housing. And when you got housing that cost $3,000 a month for a one-bedroom apartment, what you gonna do? Just gonna have your children stolen? Are you gonna, even if you have that one bedroom, oh, they're gonna come in and say, toilet's not working well enough, not safe, the dishes aren't washed, you've been working too much, sorry, not safe. They're taking away people's kids for nothing. And the only way I can describe it, when I witness people, whole little communities that we built up that get crushed by bulldozers, and you see that the mothers, all the mothers there, they've had their children stolen, that looks a lot to me like genocide. That looks like the destruction of our communities with nothing, with no rule of law. There's nothing. So one thing that I want to share today is that, you know, in the last 2 months, and I want to say this to give people encouragement. When our camp in Sausalito, we've been holding it down. We filed 9 lawsuits in the span of 2 months, and we have a larger overarching lawsuit protecting the whole camp through the California Homeless Union. But we've been filing pro se ones on a case-by-case basis. So when the police come, they got to come correct, because we will take it straight to federal court. And what we have learned, what we can share, is that you got a lot of power when you file those complaints, those lawsuits, with concurrently filed restraining orders in federal court right away on specific issues on the streets, like your access to a bathroom, your access to a place to wash your hands, a place where you can sit, a reasonable accommodation. Real big, real stern lawsuits and restraining orders on specific issues. We've been getting them. We've had five of those have won injunctive relief. So that's pretty good. We got people, we got there, forced those police, they're so used to not having to be accountable. CPS is used to not being accountable. They feel like they can just take and take and take, and they weave elaborate fictions about you, about your community. Once they concoct this fiction about you, they then present the fiction to the court, to the public, as experts, and then they violate you. Stop violating us. Can somebody say it with me? Stop violating us. Stop violating us. Stop violating us. We are sacred, okay? When people come in and treat you like trash, when they throw you to the curb, throw you down, steal your children, break your community, that is violation. They are violating us. Stop violating us.
Stop violating us.
Stop violating us.
Stop violating
Treat us like human beings. And so, yes, so I just want to give encouragement into that effect, that these restraining orders, we've been using the Justice and Diversity Center templates online. You'd be surprised. All these is $425 to file a lawsuit in federal court, but we've been doing informa pauperis, where if you do that, they waive they've approved every single fee waiver, and basically what they do is they just see if you got a viable claim, and then they'll actually serve the summons on the defendant for you with United States Marshals. And it has totally changed the dynamic, and I can actually announce that yesterday they have basically a prison guard. They forced our camp into a little tennis court area, and they have $500,000 spent on security, a contractor called Urban Alchemy. Well, I just heard last night that after 2 months of us litigating it and invoking our rights, well, they're starting to reconsider how they're spending that money. They just canceled the contract with Urban Alchemy, and there's now a new conversation that I'm hopeful that we're going to have, like we have in our Novato camp, which is self-government and a self-regulated encampment, where we don't get, amen, where they can't fictionize us. You know, every time they're always writing these reports, and the so-called experts are writing these reports, and they're making a story about you, and that story is used to justify violence. And that's what we need to stop. We need to call them out. As soon as they start making that story up about you, call them out. Don't let them make a story about you. Don't let those experts come in and say, oh, I'm going to help you out. Because when you're making a story for me, when you're taking away my ability to define myself, you're violating me. And that's what we need to bring out. We can't let them do it anymore, because what they are doing is genocidal. Thank you. God bless you all, man. All right.
Stop stealing our children! I can't hear you, family.
Stop stealing our children!
So we actually have a legislator here, because he wouldn't be coming here unless he was a legislator. Can I get a witness for that? He did accept our invitation, and we're gonna make sure that he gets heard, with the idea that he's going to come hear us too. Can we give it up for Isaac Bryan, Assembly Member Isaac Bryan?
Good afternoon. I know y'all tired because y'all been knocking on a lot of doors today, right? Pushing for change. Hey, change doesn't just happen, we have to make it happen, and you're making it happen, so thank you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Assemblymember Isaac Bryan. I represent the 54th Assembly District. That includes South Central Los Angeles, Crenshaw, Ladera Heights, Culver City, Mid-City. I know some folks drove from LA over there. We see y'all. The largest child welfare system in the world is in LA County. And there's a lot we've got to do. I know that because my mother was 16 when she got pregnant with me. I ended up being adopted by a family that did foster care for 26 years. They adopted 9 of us out of the system. I saw rights being terminated. I saw cases getting closed. I saw children getting broken. I have more brothers and sisters who are unhoused or incarcerated than I do that have been to college. So for me to be the first elected official in California's history that wasn't raised by a biological relative, I know there's things we've got to do in our child welfare system. So I've got a couple of bills this year to make a couple of things better. One of those bills is AB 1686. Right now, if your children go into foster care, oftentimes you will be sent a bill if you're in any county outside of LA County. We charge parents for the time their children are in foster care. It's like child support to the counties. It's terrible. And if we pass this bill this year, we won't do it anymore.
Good. Yeah!
I've got another bill, AB 2159. Right now, if you're alleged to have committed a crime and you're incarcerated pre-trial, meaning you just didn't have the money to bail out, right? You're too poor to bail out, you can still lose custody of your children forever. Even if the charges get dropped or you get acquitted, you could still have already lost your children. That's wrong. You're innocent until proven guilty, and you shouldn't lose your children until otherwise either. And even then, if you're convicted, I don't think you should lose your children. We've got a lot of work to do to keep families together.
Thank you! All of my children, and I was lost in prison for 14 months.
We've got a lot of work to do.
They dumped all my children.
Another bill we're working on right now, if they start putting you through the system, there's a lot of documents they have to give you. But they don't have to give them to you in the language that you speak. That's wrong. We've got a lot of kids who can't read the things that are being given to them. We've got a lot of parents who can't read the documents that are being given to them. So we've got a bill to make sure that that doesn't happen anymore either. It's my first year in office. We're just now getting started. We've got a lot of work to do, but we can't do it by ourselves. So thank you for all being here. Thank you for pushing. Hold us accountable, and let's keep working together.
Thank you!
While the conscious legislator is here, can I get a witness? Stop stealing our children! And we appreciate you, and we want to make sure that everybody here heard that he made a commitment to listening to us, right? I want to call up Sister Philly, who's been through all this mess.
Hello, my name is Felicia Clark. A lot of people know me from previous protests that I've done up here. I just want to educate you guys real quick. I do have my children back. It was a long battle. My son was given to me. So my son was given to me when they put my daughter on her deathbed. So there was no court there to say, hey, you can have your son back. It was my daughter laying there with a cracked and severed spinal cord, which if you play Mortal Kombat, that's a fatality. No doctors could explain how my daughter was alive with full brain function. So that's how I got my son back. I said I have an all-gold Cadillac. It's an all-gold bridge in Sacramento. Laura Saunders, you think I'm gonna get the FBI's attention? She took my son from my mom and put my son in my arms and said, from this moment on, you're gonna be with your son. So it was a way to control me and silence me, and it worked. I didn't go do nothing erratic. I sat with my daughter in the hospital. We got her home. She passed away. That's when we stopped going to family court. When I said, my daughter got hurt in an AB 12 CPS funded apartment with Alana Marie Chapman, and you guys don't want to investigate this, we will not come to family court no more. Tell the police to come to my house. The police came out and said this is a civil matter. My stories are on Facebook Live. You can Google Felicia Clark versus Sacramento County in the Federal Eastern District, okay? There is a way to go against CPS and document them. You have to put it in writing. You have to go to, if you're in Sacramento, then you go right here to 700 H Street, Board of Supervisors office, and you file your claim, which is your complaint. They're two of the one. Now, if they want to ignore your claim or reject your claim, then after they do that, you can then take the CPS worker, her or himself, to civil court and civilly sue them for the corruption. If you can prove your CPS worker lied in their court report because you have a video, you have a recorded conversation, you have a text message, that evidence is legally, municipally allowed in civil court. And a civil court judge will look at that. So that's a way to document what's going on. That's who you report it to. That's how you fight back. If you're calling the police and you're saying, hey, I want to file a police report on my CPS worker for child endangerment, child neglect, child abuse, perjury, and they refuse to take the report, remind them that they're on a recorded call and that you have no problem in suing them and labeling them as a co-conspirator under the Constitution if you know about a crime during the fact, before the fact, and what's that great one? After the fact. Then you are a co-conspirator if you didn't inform the law. That's the law's rule, not mine. So you can't Google me. I was on a feature of SACB newspaper for exposing the Children's Receiving Home. I am still exposing the Sacramento County Children's Receiving Home. My daughter died as a result of leaving there unattended. Kendra died as a result of leaving there unattended. Another child tried to commit suicide after Kendra on the same bridge, but you didn't see the news talk about it. So if you guys want to get a hold of me, I'm on Instagram. My phone number is 415-879-1816. I do take calls day and night from parents going through it. I am not a lawyer. I am not giving you guys legal advice. I am simply a parent who understood she was being wronged, and I read the Constitution. Then I went down the street to the California State Law Library, and I opened their books on family law. And then I said, hey, this isn't right. So even though I have my children back, my oldest is dead. People always say you could have walked away. Well, they woke a sleeping giant. I'm here to educate you guys on how to document it, how to stand up, and eventually we can make change. But to the person from Congress who's out here, we need one California state legislator. Everybody who takes the time to get up and call your Congress, call and ask for one California state legislator to audit CPS. If you call the whistleblower hotline for the state, that means if you're in Alameda County, Shasta County, the Bay Area, everybody should be calling for the California State Auditor to audit the entity known as CPS. If you call the California Department of Social Services, Kim Johnson is the overseer of all of that. Kim Johnson will not ask for nothing to be audited. So if you call the whistleblower hotline and ask them, why aren't you guys auditing CPS? They will tell you the only way to get a state agency audited is by a California state legislator. I've done this homework. I've been calling. All I get are secretaries. So if you're willing to meet with me, like the lady who spoke earlier was saying, we need to show up in numbers. None of my daughter who's died family is here today. But they're the Brents from Del Paso Heights. They make up one of the third biggest families in North Sacramento, but you don't see them here. So people need to stick together, and if your family and friends don't want to get behind you, then hey, we are each other's family and friends. I got your back if nobody else does. No one wants to knock on these doors with you guys in the Capitol, I'll do it. Someone come knock with me, because we're asking for a California state legislator to call the auditor's office and say, they would like the California Department of Social Services audited, specifically the entity known as CPS. When they get audited, you'll see that while parents have their children, they're paying child support. That's fraud, because while you're paying child support, that means a foster care check is going out to a parent that don't have your kids. This happened in my case. I'm speaking facts here. So I've given you guys my information. That's my time. You guys aren't alone.
This is the truth. Follow her for real. is in honor of homeless mothers and poor mothers, low-wage mothers and no-wage mothers, welfare mothers and 3-job working mothers, migrante mothers and incarcerated mothers. In other words, this poem is in honor of DHS with, CPS with, and most of all, system messed with mothers. Yeah. That's a little piece of the Welfare Queen anthem that myself and other sisters at Poor Magazine, who started the Welfare Queens, which is a poetry and performance, fighting these laws that continue to steal our babies. So let's let him hear it again. Don't steal our children! Don't steal our children! That part. So I'm going to bring up Sister Warrior, right up here in Sacramento, occupied Maidu Nisinan territory, who's fighting every day on the front line and also dealt with the system herself. Crystal Rose Sanchez from Sacramento Homeless Union. Come on up, sis.
So my name is Crystal Sanchez. I'm the Western Regional Director for the National Union of the Homeless and the president here of the Sacramento Homeless Union. My story goes back a lot longer, and I'm not going to take up too much time. But my first interaction with CPS and remembering CPS was a SWAT team while I was hiding in a closet. They're ruthless. They don't care. And at this point, these systems, like everybody's saying, need to be audited. I'm going to skip forward. So I was taken away from my family and placed into foster group home care, where I learned how to become a criminal. I learned how to break the law. I learned how to, do things I wasn't supposed to. I learned about drugs. I learned about all kinds of things. I was safer at home than I was in these systems. When I had my children, what a lot of people don't know and don't understand is that when you are a ward of the court or you are in this system, when you grow up, your children automatically become part of the system. Every child I have 4 kids, CPS automatically showed up at the hospital. I had an open case every single time until they came and made sure everything was okay. That's not normal. My work here, though, on the streets is going to keep me driven here. We have 16 to 20,000 people on the streets right here in Sacramento, over 200,000 here in California. And what we are seeing is the mass abduction of children out of encampments. We are seeing the systemic issues, the systemic racism that is happening in this building behind me, making it so people cannot have housing. These houses are empty, but we have all these people on the streets, family and children. And on top of it, we're seeing them sweep and take the only housing that people do have, which happens to be trailers at this point, or tents. They're taking them away from them, leaving children to die on our streets. This year, we had 4 children die on our streets. It's absolutely insane. We have families giving birth in encampments, off the record, avoiding CPS. For all the reasons that you guys know. We have to unite, we have to unify these fights. Homelessness is interfaceted, CPS is interfaceted. There's lots of reasons. We need to fight together for this. And we need to fight against it. And I'm here. I'll take your paperwork in. If you're somewhere else, you need me to bring your paperwork, like hand it to them, I'm here. I'll do it.
Thank you.
There are a lot of warriors in this group today. But as mamas and papas and aunties and grandmamas and grandpapas, we're already warriors, right? Right. Because we have to wake up every day, even if we don't have resources, and make sure our babies are fed. Make sure our babies are cared for. Amen. Like Sister Crystal said, once you on their books, they can keep making money off you. Yep. So when I had my son, they locked the door from the outside and was going to call 5150 on me, and I didn't agree to their psych eval. And they basically said, either you do that or you don't get your baby. How many of you have dealt with that shit? Yep. Right? But think about it, family. The psych eval, aka psychiatric evaluation, is rooted in the same colonial domination, the same racist and classist framework of normalcy that this land was stolen under and that system operates under. So it's all connected. And when we talk about homelessness, and we talk about police terror, and we talk about plantation prison systems, we have to talk about CPS. Because that is the school to prison motherfucking pipeline. Can I get a witness? Nobody ever discusses that when they're talking about that. And that is bullshit, excuse my French. Because that is how we end up in the system. That's how they end up in our lives and taking our babies. These are all connected. Don't get it twisted. So we're going to have a powerful warrior who's one of the organizers of this beautiful day, who literally I just saw fighting on every front. A sister after my own heart. Leah from Impact. Come on up, sis. Give her a round of applause, please.
Thank you, my sister. Thank you. All power to the people. Can I hear y'all say all power to the people? All power to the people. And we are the people. We are the people here today. And I want to start, Zora Neale Hurston said, when you're silent about your pain, they will kill you and say that you enjoyed it, right? So what they want is to systematically oppress us as people so that we're silent and that it appears as though we enjoy what's happening to us. But everything that everyone is talking about today, this is systematic. So this is a systematic state-sanctioned violence that is happening amongst us, and it's not just CPS. It's systematic, so it's mass incarceration. It's the school-to-prison pipeline. It's CPS, it's APS, it's the police system. It's all these systems that all of us fall underneath that are affecting our day-to-day life. And I say to you guys today, as we stand on these steps, this is Sacramento, this is the state capital of California. We are standing in front of the state capital. This is where all the decisions are made, all the laws are made. This is where the people are that decide what's going to happen in our lives and in our future. These are the ones that make the decisions for our lives. So when I say all power to the people, the power isn't within us. We hold the power, it's in us. We decide and we dictate how our lives are going to go. I hear people say, don't take my child and not my child, and my child is not for sale, but we have to mean that. We have to make sure when we say resist, that is the act of defiance. It's to say that we resist. And we as the people have to resist together. So it's not enough to come here today. We have to work in this capacity every single day. We have to make sure we're standing in the gaps for every single person that stands here today. So if you know your neighbor is struggling, it's our responsibility to help our neighbor so that the state-sanctioned violence doesn't come into play and so they don't have an effect on our families and on our outcome. I stand here today for the mamas and the daddies that are incarcerated right now, and they're told that they can't parent from the inside. We know that's a goddamn lie, because we know that they can. For all the parents out here that are afraid to go get medical care because our babies are being medically kidnapped and because we don't trust the medical system. And for the mamas and the daddies out here that are houseless and unhoused and are scared to make any moves and are scared to put their kids in school, scared to get their kids medical care because they're afraid of the system. So we stand here today for everybody as we stand in the gaps, because this is something that has no racial lines. I don't know if you guys have looked around today, but we're all different types of people that stand here today. We come from all different walks. All of us are here together, every race, every nationality, every walks of life. This is all over the state of California. You all have come here today to make this statement. And I say that we can't just make this statement today. We have to make this statement beyond today. And I'm all for resisting. But what exactly does that mean to you all? What exactly does that mean? Because we can't roll over. We can't submit to the system because our children are dying in this system and our children are not coming home in this system. And the effect is so grand that we have to be able to speak out against the system. And we do that every single time. Us advocates and those of us that are here from Sacramento that work these grassroots, that is. We don't take money from the system. We're grassroots. And those of us that do this work every day and we answer those calls at 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon, we are here for you. Utilize us. Allow us to sit in those meetings with you. Allow us to give you court support. Allow us to advocate on your behalf. Allow us to be the voice when you don't have one. Allow us to stand when you can't stand. That's what we are here for, and we are family. We are here for each other. So all of us here today, I want to make that stance today that we are here for you, and we all have something to bring to the table. All of us. Can I hear y'all say all power to the people? All power to the people. All power to the people. All power to the people. All right. And we are the people. Thank you guys so much. My name is Leah Shank, and I'm the founder of Impact. Thank you guys so much.
again, as we stand on this this plaza in front of the colonial terror that is the state capitol, we know clearly, we've been given marching orders, right? There's no question about that. We have more mamas than we probably have time for to speak today. But we're going to try to make as much time, and I'm asking all the future speakers, please keep it to 2 minutes. We have another powerful warrior, Miriam Smith from Pause the Calls. Give a big round of applause for Sister Miriam. Come on now.
All right, Miriam.
Stop CPS. Let's chant that.
Stop CPS.
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 Like Leah said, power to the people. That's our job, the people. It's our job to be able to be educated and educate others to stop CPS. If we don't stop CPS, then who will? We're the ones that are harmed by it. We're the ones that are affected by it. If we the parents, we the guardians, we the loved ones don't stop CPS, who will? Now, I had something else that I wanted to say when I came up here, but the people that I had invited didn't come, so I don't feel comfortable like talking about their story without them here. So I'm going to talk about something else that I wrote down. But I want you to know that I work with Pause the Calls, and it's something that you understand. For you to understand that Pause the Calls is to stop the unhealthy relationship between the community and the police. We think the police is the answer for everything. Stop them from doing welfare checks. Stop them from checking on our adults, checking on our children. You have that power to stop them. They don't have to come in the house. They don't have to come uninvited to your home. They don't have to come unwelcome to your home and demand to come in. They don't have a warrant, no interest. And then you check the warrant, make sure it's signed by a judge. So there's a lot of stuff that people can do and should do to help community members, and we need to educate our community members, and we need to educate our friends and family that they have rights, because one day it was happening to you and the next day it was happening to them. And so I have that right now with the young lady that was going to come. They never wanted to get involved. I trained gatekeepers to stop CPS. I trained gatekeepers to fight with CPS to win. I train people. I'm a popular education trainer, teacher, and I teach people to fight CPS to win. But this young lady didn't never want to come to any of my meetings, and so it happened to her. And so now she's gung-ho all into stuff, and you know, we need to let people know, our neighbors and our friends and our family members know it can happen to them. It will sometimes happen to them. So they need to be prepared that they have rights, and that they can't just let people walk up in their house, walk up in their yard. The cops in my city be mad at me because they step up to when the cops step up in my yard, I tell them to get out. Okay? They're not welcome here. And they're not invited. Can somebody grab this for me, please? And so the cops get mad at me, but now they know me. So all over my city, the cops are familiar with who I am, how I operate, and my friends. So you gotta teach your family, you gotta teach your friends, you gotta teach your neighbors their rights. So I talked to a senator this morning. I was coming down the elevator in the hotel, and the senator was there, and my daughter happened to ask him, well, you know, are you a fireman? And he said, no, I'm a senator. I said, wow, senator, jumped right on it. So I started asking him, well, what do you think about the Child Protective Service? What are you doing about that? What have you done? Well, my daughter works for Child Protective Service. And I said, what, really? And so then he said, I said, but what do you know about it? And he started explaining that, trying to explain to me that Child Protective Service is something that family members have to just go through. I'm being silent because think about that. They have to go through and they have to be checked out. I said, oh, okay, so I listened to him, he finished, and I said, oh, well, I've been doing this 25 years, I'm not a lawyer, I'm almost as good as a lawyer, and I work for these families. And I said, what I want you to understand is, it's not about what you understand. He's touching the surface. These people don't want to dig deep, they don't know anything much about it, and so what do we have to do? Lobby them. We have to get up in their face, talk to them, and lobby them. We're blessed to have somebody that has been in the system to come and talk to us today. Isaac Bryant, that was a blessing. But there's not a lot of Isaac Bryants out there. These people think they know what they're talking about, and they don't know anything. He's telling me because his daughter clearly works for him, he's probably not willing to dig in. So by the time I got through talking to that senator, we exchanged information, and he said, I'm gonna look into it, I'm gonna do this. So we gotta hold them accountable. Guess what? They get paid by us, taxpayers' dollars. They work for for you and me. They work for your families. They work for your friends. They work for us, the people. And the power is with the people. So what do? We have to hold them accountable. We have to make sure that there's a transfer of wealth. What am I talking about? Transfer of wealth. All this money going to them. You know, I said to the man, I said, you mean 750,000 people have to go through the system? Have to just get checked out? I said, do you not know that a lot of those children are taken that should never have been taken from the home? Over 80% of the children are taken that should have never been removed from the home. And 15% of those are given back. And then you turn around, you know, I talked to some top lawyers, and top lawyers have said, there's about 11 of them in the state of California that fight CPS or fight dependency court. And they said we only win about 15% cases. Imagine that. And senators think you need to go through the system. You need to prove yourself. I said 750,000 people have to prove themselves. 80% of those people, those children that have been taken, those children should never have been removed. So what do we do? What do we do? We can't sit back and twiddle our thumbs. We have to fight, and we have to fight hard. So we have to fight to win. We have to teach our friends, we have to teach our family members to fight to win, and we have to fight hard. And we can't sit back and let senators walk around here getting this money, getting paid, and getting getting fat off of the land, and we not say anything. We have to speak up, we have to stand up, and we have to lobby them, and we have to teach them what we know. And we got to keep learning so that we can teach them what we know. So that we know enough that we can change their mind. So we know enough that we can get them working for us and not working for the fat of the land. It's important because, see, when we transfer this wealth from the Child Protective Services, see the big fine buildings in Sacramento? That money is being funded through Child Protective Services. That's one of the biggest funding programs in the states, all over the country. When you see new buildings come up, you can go do the numbers and find out how many children have been taken in that city. How many children have been taken in that county? Where is this money coming from? You can demand that money be transferred to you. They will give you $300 for a child on welfare, and they will give you $900 for a child that's in kinship. But they will give them anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000 a month. And if the child has a disability, you can get up to $36,000 a month for that child. Up to $80,000 a year without the disability. This is not fair. Transfer the wealth. People are sleeping, like I heard somebody say, I like that, his sign, fund families, not systems. People are sleeping in their cars, in tents, and on the streets and various places. Yes, they have children, and there's not a law against that. You can't take their children because they are sleeping and don't have a place to sleep. You can't take their children for all the reasons that children are being taken. You need to know this, you need to be educated, and you need to be trained. And what I do is, as a gatekeeper, is our group is Stop CPS Monterey County, or Stop CPS. And what I do as a gatekeeper is I teach other gatekeepers that to train folks so that we can have, when we get a training, unanimous training all over the country, then we can stop CPS. The power is in the people. Enough people come together. Thank you for coming, people, everyone that showed up. Thank Michelle for having me, and thank you all that are interested, those that are affected by it, and those that have power to make change. And guess who has the power to make change? Yes, all of you have the power to make change. Yes, come together, make the change happen. Be a part of what's happening. Be a part of change. Because we don't have to wait on change. We don't have to look for change. We can make change happen right now. And that's what you do. You make it happen. Because you're powerful. You're powerful. And you can make the wealth transfer. People don't have to be out there without, and they getting thousands and thousands of dollars a month for these kids, and you getting 300. You getting 900, and they come and take your child because you don't have enough. We have to wake the system up, and we have to make the transfer. We have to make them make the transfer. They sign everything else off. They sign off all kind of stuff. I don't know if the lady is here, but I was talking on a radio show a while back. Sorry, I don't have the information on that. It's in an old phone that I lost. And on the radio show, my daughter had lost her house, so they had asked me to speak and talk about it. But she lost her home, and she qualified for the work that, what is this called? This rental thing, rental assistance. She qualified for the rental assistance. And they were willing to pay like 15 months of her rent, back rent. She was behind a little bit more than that, and the landlord wouldn't take it. So anyway, I talked about it on the radio show and everything, and she told me about this event today, and then Michelle called me. And so I came out, but I'm not just here to say a word to you. I'm here to make sure you understand that I can help you. I can help you. And the sheriff that came out to my daughter's house threatened CPS, threatened that they were going to call CPS. I said, have you ever done that before? They said no. So, 40% of our black children are taken by CPS, and they're kept in foster homes compared to their white counterparts. And they're kept in foster homes 40% more than their white counterpart or anyone else. So I just want you all, thank you for coming. Stop CPS! Stop CPS!
Let's give a big round of applause for Sis who paused the calls. Our children are turned into dollar signs created by colonial minds. And that's why we know to take them back. So I want to lift up the fact that there are some badass parents in this beautiful audience today. Lifters, give yourself a big round of applause. Because like you heard everybody said, we are all we got. But also I want to lift up that when we are talking about abolishing the police, and when we are talking about abolishing prison industrial complex, we cannot forget to abolish the systems that lead to them. And that's what CPS and the foster care system is. So, again, let's make those dots connections as we're fighting these systems and not end up in silos that are only about one issue. These are absolutely connected, and they're absolutely connected to racism and classism that's created by colonial terror that we have to deal with on this occupied land. So I'm going to call up one of the mamas, a beautiful sister who has a disabled child. Her name is Candace.
So I'm here to try to help bring transparency to the juvenile courts. During my whole process, my children have lost their dad to suicide. We lost everything. They should not be allowed to kidnap children off of false allegations. They should not be able to violate constitutional rights. And I don't know when it's going to stop, because if those rights were put there to protect us, but they could get away with violating them, then what do we do? So I vowed to make sure that my kids' dad did not die in vain. And I want to give a shout out to all the people that have lost their family members from suicide due to the corruption and everything we've had to go through in this system. And I appreciate everyone here today who's sticking up for our rights, because if we don't put a stop to it, it's just going to keep continuing. Thank you.
We have some radical lawyers who are here, and I want to say that, let's be real, for any of y'all who have dealt with this corrupt system, you know that the lawyers have their hands in the pocket of the fake-ass juvenile dependency court. Can I get a witness on that shit? And that we never feel represented because we're not, which is why that system is so corrupt. But we have sisters here from ACLU. So, Mama, before you come up, we're going to hear the warriors from ACLU who have stood by Michelle and Leah and myself in the planning of this powerful event. Come on up, Farida.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for having me today. It's really an honor to be able to be here and just listen to you and your stories. I really can't put words to it. I haven't experienced it, but I'm here for you, and I'm here to do what I can to support y'all, okay? My name is Farida Perez. I'm a staff attorney with the ACLU of Northern California under the Gender, Sexuality, and Reproductive Justice Program. I come to you as a first-generation child of immigrants, one who's experienced the inequities of poverty, racism, all my life and all my career. I have dedicated my life and work to fighting for these injustices and was asked to speak today actually about the relevance of Roe v. Wade in this and how this is going to affect our work today. But I want you to know that before we even talk about that, this decision or this leak of a decision from the Supreme Court, it comes during a time when communities are already feeling uncertain. They're already experiencing these things. I work with people coming out of jails and prisons and that are incarcerated and don't have access to abortions. They don't have access to be able to see a doctor. They don't have access to be able to get the care that they need just to give birth. And this has been going on for years, right? So with this decision that's looming, and we also have ICWA, by the way, that's going to be heard by the court at the end of this year, which is the Indian Child Welfare Act. Okay, that's also being challenged this year. So we need to hear folks about this. We need our voices to be heard. Right. Okay. So I want to talk to you about what reproductive justice means. It's more than abortion. It's bigger than Roe. It's a term that was coined by Black women who called for inclusivity and expansion of reproductive freedom. Reproductive justice or freedom is the right to maintain personal bodily autonomy, have children, not have children, and to parent the children that we have in safe and sustainable communities. Okay? This means that we need to give the resources to the people to be able to keep their kids, not the other way around where you take the kids first and then give the resources. Those resources are available, we know this. So I'm just here to tell y'all that we are working towards a space where we think about all of these things in reproductive justice. It's big, it includes all of us. And we have the power to be able to make that change. And we have the resources to ensure self-determined reproductive decision-making and family formation. So I just want to leave you with some quotes or some statistics that I think are really important when we're talking about this. 94% of calls to CPS are against people of color. 94%. 50% of Black children in the U.S. will be subjected to a CPS investigation. In LA, the largest federal family regulation system in the country, while there's only 10% Black children in LA, they represent about 40% of the young people in the child welfare system. So I just want you to sit with that. Think about that. Because all of these things are racial justice issues. All of these things are reproductive justice. Whatever you want to call it, we're all here because we want to live and be able to decide what we want to do with our body and what happens to our children. So I appreciate you all for having me. And I'm here to hear you out on whatever you want to talk to me about. I understand what it means for a lawyer to be here. But I'm willing to take that grunt and talk to y'all, and yeah, let's talk. All right.
Hey, all you young people in the audience, that's why you go to school and get that paper, and that's the kind of lawyer you be. I'm just saying. That's what I'm telling my son, who's here, the child of a houseless mama, and all of my powerful sons. I want to call out Amir Cornish, Akil Carrillo, Israel Munoz, and Tiburcio, who are youth scholars from Decolonize Academy and Poor Magazine. That's a poor people-led revolution, okay? We don't get no money from the state, and we're building our own solutions. So best believe, folks, it can be done. And we also got to decolonize our own minds from the idea that everything is in there. It's not. It's actually right here. So we're going to call up the sis. Come on up. I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Sorry, babe. And then you'll introduce yourself.
Nice to meet you. Hi, I'm going to ask Mr. Andrews Mark.
who's talking right now. He was the one that spoke on the guard earlier. I want to play a voicemail, if I may, for you guys. I'm shaking, I'm a little nervous. I have a lymphoma, so I have autoimmune. I'm already turning bright red. So, excuse me if I'm nervous and I sound stupid. But I'm that mom that that was viral, that I went live the day that shutdown happened. This is really emotional because I just was able to buy a newborn the first time since they detained my newborn baby that day. They came to my home in Burbank, California. I spoke to the social worker earlier that day where I told her, I still had staples in my stomach. I told her she told me she would come on the following Monday for a wellness check through the window to stay in my home, where I had a doctor's note saying it was the best interest for my child to be in my care, in my home, and not to leave. Mr. Andrews, could you stand up here for support? Because I'm literally shitting a brick here. Sorry. Oh, don't fall. I'm sorry. That's my fault, somehow. I'm sorry. You okay? Blonde moment. Just kidding. Yeah. This is now my adopted father. This is now my family. I have no family left because my family keeps saying, do what they're telling you to do, Michelle. I go, Mom, I am. Bullshit, you'd have her back by now. So I say, Mom, I'm doing it. Just hear me out. No, Michelle, I don't want to hear it, because my family was that other side that looked at families like this, or people, excuse me. Oh, they're a piece of shit. They got the kid taken. Excuse me, I cuss like a sailor. I am a follower of Christ. Who would know? My vocabulary doesn't define who I am inside. Sorry. So my point is, I want to play a voicemail. When they came to my home, I went live because I have no support. CPS says that they encourage us to have support. Well, my support was my online support. So I went live. I didn't know the can of worms I was going to open. I disclosed my name, my everything, my kid's name, and now I just lost my home as of 2 hours ago because I went live that I was here. Sheriffs have now taken my home in LA County. I don't know where I'm going to call home, or even if my dogs are okay when I return. So that's what this fight means to me. I have now lost everything I've ever had, and it's worth it. To see these mothers up here, like me, no matter if you're black, no matter if you're white, no matter what race you are, we as adults, am I not right? We are babies. Somebody else's baby. Those are my babies. I don't care what race you are.
And I can personally verify the CPS social workers lied in her report to take away those children.
So this day, I had that standoff, as you guys all know, where they detained my newborn. I had to make a choice. That evening, I did not get this voicemail. The next day, I did. Now, as you know, if you follow my site, I put a picture of the warrant where I had 2 professionals agree and bet their career that that judge's signature that day, or on that warrant they used to take my newborn, was that of my own. Almost mocking me, right? Like, oh, this little chick, you think you're gonna go up against us? Well, guess what? I'm still here. I haven't spent one birthday. My daughter's now 2. One birthday with my newborn girl. I did that pregnancy alone. But here's a voicemail from my supervisor that I got the next day. Oh, sorry.
I need you to understand that you need to retain patience. I know you love her. I know you're bonded to her. But we really need to place her with your mother. You spoke to me in the past and you said that you would do what's best for the best interest of your child. And your mother is the best interest of your child at the moment. Please consider following our warrant and releasing the child to Veronica so she can go with your mom. I really would want her to be with your mother.
Oh, sorry, my phone locked. Okay, there it goes.
Yeah, that's enough right
But
there.
basically, they had threatened me that day to put my child into foster care if I did not hand over my daughter. They said in this voicemail, she goes, if you don't detain today, we will be back and we will put her in foster care. Excuse me, but I was studying law, okay? I know in all 50 states I wanted to be probation parole. In all 50 states, if you have a valid search and seizure warrant and that individual is confirmed at that location, you cannot leave as law enforcement officers that location without that individual dead or alive. Therefore, if that warrant was valid, why were the police out my door that night? Why were they leaving with tears in their eyes? They felt bad. I know the cops may have incidences that people frown upon. I agree, they're people too. But this night they had compassion, they were leaving. And I overheard them say to this officer, you don't even have the right paperwork. I had to make a choice that night because I thought, okay, wait a minute. If I do this, I might never see her again and they'll go and foster her. She will go and foster. So I said, fine, Mom, take my kid that night. I haven't seen my kid in my care since. I won them back, they didn't care. They lied to take them back. My point is, why did they show up that warrant? And I keep subpoenaing that warrant. I want to know where that judge is. If that's not a valid warrant, how are you proceeding in cases? Oh, we've gone past that. They've gone past that in my case. Well, isn't that legal? That's duress. I would have given up my infant, but because I surrendered under their false warrant, I surrendered my child, and this case is open. Bullshit. And I am said to be unstable because of my actions after that detainment. I'm sorry, but are you guys all mama bears? Let me ask you, what happened to a mama bear in the wild when you touch that cub? We rip your fucking face off. So why am I crazy when I'm saying, hey, hear me, this isn't okay, but I'm crazy? I'm sorry, but we're canines, aren't we? Do we not choose to not or eat meat? You just took my bear cub. You can't stop me. And not only that, but my parents have filed for funding, dual funding, and now they want mental health services for my daughter who says, I want a new mommy that doesn't have to go away. And I refuse to go see my daughter because as I leave and I'm driving down that street, I hear my little girl say, Mommy! And I can't turn around because I'm scared to be thrown in jail if I take my goddamn daughter with me. And I'm the bad mom, not the mom saying, just leave already. No, let me tell you something. My kid is not a fucking price tag, and I will be insane until you give me my child back, because that's a crime against humanity. And I'm sorry, but it is instinct for a mother to protect our young. Who are you to tell me what's protection? Do you know me? Do you know my ex who is abusive and what sets him off or not? Let me tell you something. You take my babies and his baby, you set him off on fire, and guess what? At me. So fuck you, we weren't even as bad as we were until you guys decided you were gonna intervene. So keep families together. Yeah, we have issues, don't we all? We all have a trash can in our home, whether we keep it disclosed or by the back door or under the sink. That's our choice. Who are you to tell us where our trash is and how to throw it away? Keep us together, work through it, okay, yeah, I can understand that. But who are you still then to separate us or take our reasons to get rid of that trash? Sorry, but I was on that side, guys, and now I sit here and I would never, ever do what's been done to me to any other mother, no matter what race or anything. Social distinction, anything. So I just have to say that.
Our kids are not for sale. Let me hear it.
Our kids are not for sale.
Our kids are not for sale.
Our kids are not for sale.
Amen.
Amen.
All right, so we're going off this powerful list of mamas and papas. Malvina Fernandez Lopez.
Well, mine began with CPS before family. But before I get to mine, I just reminded me when I saw the sign behind me said, where is a little girl? I can't remember her name, but currently in Bakersfield, 2 little boys were murdered. They can't find their bodies. They are 3 years old and 4 years old. I'm going to give you their names. Their names were Orrin and Orson. They were black little boys given to this couple and taken away from their mother in 2016 when one brother was 3 months old. And the other brother, I believe, I'm trying to get it because it's really, this is where there should be murder charges, a charge against or negligence, the CPS. Because the mother had come home and the younger 3-month was crying, and she took him to the doctor because she didn't know what was going on because the father was trying to soothe the legs and because he was crying, and of course the hospital said, oh, abuse, and CPS came in and they said all this stuff, and next thing you know, after they held the 3-month-old baby, they automatically came in and said, we're taking your other child because you abused that one, so we're going to make sure this one is safe. And then throughout the time, they would make reports regarding the foster parents of concerns of lack of proper care, and they wouldn't. CPS would do nothing. They continue to make complaints, and the grandmother tried to get him, and they just refused and refused. And right before, in 2020, those foster parents wanted to, and they did, formally adopt the foster children. And then a few months after, they asked, where are the boys? They wanted to see the boys. There were no boys to be found, not even to this day. Those boys, they've been murdered and no bodies have been found. 2 lovely little boys. CPS failed to intervene, to do anything. And as of this, they've been arrested in 21, and this year, I believe in April, they were charged. And now the parents are formally filing a civil suit. But sadly, Kern County, like the police department and the sheriff, is one of the most corrupt counties in CPS, juvenile court, and family court. As I said, mine began with CPS retaliating against me because I reported the school principal for kissing my girlfriend's daughter on the forehead at school. And that's when I dealt with the false CPS allegations. And eventually, of course, not knowing I would be dealing with a family divorce court, when the children would be given to our narcissistic sociopath offender, who was also our abuser. When my son lost 13 pounds from December to March, December 13th, March 2014, when he began, the CPS said, that's your responsibility, not ours, even though he refused to let me see them. I'm gonna make this long story short. He alienated my sons, who are high-functioning autistic children, who I raised from beginning with a consistency and structure, which I had was fortunate and had the education as occupational therapist, training and work experience, and they had a lot of love and nurturing, and they're always in their own little world. But when he took them at the ages of 12 and 13, of course they were easily to manipulate and deceive, and that's what happened. But towards the end, they realized that he was a narcissistic sociopath. I didn't have to tell him. And by 2020, the youngest one left California, followed by the older one in 2021, who graduated with a 4-year degree in 4 years. But in 2018, he told me he had filed a domestic violence claim. I said, oh, baby, you made mama proud. And he would sneak to see me. And now they don't talk to me because they're trying to figure it out. One is in England, the younger. He's a firefighter, Air Force, married at the age of 20, which I know. And the other one is an engineer, 4-year degree in automation and robotics. They're both highly intelligent. But they're still out there lost, which is, and I'm homeless 10 years. Along with my other stuff. But that's what I want you to understand. CPS involves retaliation, family courts, and other things. That's why it must be disbanded completely. And I don't want to take that much time because I know there's a lot of horrors out there. I'm just blessed. My sons didn't turn to drugs, alcohol, or self-degradation of selling their body, which a lot of children have done, to self-sustain themselves. So my heart's out there with everyone else, and hope we can find these other boys along with the other missing children. So God bless you all, and I'll always be here to support you no matter what. And I'm glad I finally made it.
I love that wheelchair. Thank you. Give a round of applause for sis. We have some young people who made it out of that system, the torture care system, as my mama would call it. Can we give it up to our babies who grew up in these plantation systems and give some space on the mic for them?
All right, thank you all. Thank you so much. to everybody for coming out today. My name is Benjamin Lundberg Torres Sanchez. I use they, them pronouns, or AA when we're speaking in Spanish. Thank you here for gathering here on Miwok land. I myself was born on Muisca land, occupied and unceded Muisca land, or Bogota, Colombia. I was separated from my first family in Colombia for 28 years through a private transnational adoption process. And I am a family separation systems abolitionist, including adoption and foster care. Full stop, abolish adoption and foster care. I was displaced from my homeland and raised by white folks on Wichita land in Texas, and now I'm coming here today from Ohlone land. I'm standing here with fellow adopted and foster people who were all separated from our families as young people through various systems: domestic adoption, transnational adoption, foster care. We're here because we grow up. And there are so many of us out there ready to be in solidarity with parents fighting these family separation systems, these family policing systems like CPS today. I am honored to be able to talk to y'all about this today. And as the sister from ACLU said, well, first I want to say I want solidarity between adopted, fostered, and trafficked people with impacted parents fighting CPS today, with first and birth parents, parents of adoption loss. But I'm especially honored to be able to address you here today in the midst of the upheaval in the wake of the draft opinion of the impending overturn of Roe v. Wade. You may have seen that the draft opinion includes mention of the quote-unquote domestic supply of infants being revitalized as a consequence of the Roe overturn. While it is true that adoption and foster care is a multi-billion-dollar industry that uses billions of dollars of public and private money annually and requires other people's children, our children, your children, to keep the lights on and stay in business, this is true. But as my collaborator J. Khadisha Abdurrahman recently noted, the placement of Black and Indigenous children up for adoption and foster care is not driven primarily by the desires of adopted parents, but by the state's desire to eliminate their kinship ties by whatever means necessary.
States get 100% funding for Native American children. It's a crime. It's a crime.
Yes, we know that it is the state that abandons us, who abandons our families. It is the state that does the abandoning. I want to shout out people who are doing this work all across the country. Shout out to the Black Mothers March that marched and rallied this Mother's Day in DC. Shout out to the Repeal ASFA Coalition, the Repeal Adoption and Safe Families Act Coalition, a law that has provided financial incentives for agencies to snatch your kids and to turn a profit. Shout out to JMAC for Families in New York, that's leading legislative action in New York State. Miranda rights for parents whose rights are violated by CPS. Informed consent for parents who are being drug tested in hospitals without their consent. And Joyce McMillan, who runs JMAC for Families, is also fighting to eliminate the state central registry there that criminalizes parents primarily for being poor and leaves them on the registry unable to get work as a caregiver, a bus driver, any contact that you have with children and families, simply because they had their kids snatched up by ACS just for being poor. We need solidarity between adopted, fostered, and trafficked people, birth and first parents, parents organizing and fighting the forced removal of their children today. We have to make this movement national. We have to make this movement international. We have to be learning each other's stories so that we can throw down together and overturn these violent systems of family regulation, surveillance, and policing. I just want to shout out my comrades here, Liz, Ocean, Laura. We're all here to stand in solidarity today with parents. Thank you so much for giving us the space to talk.
Can we give it up for our young people who survived that shit? So many of our young people did not. Let's not get it twisted. Again, if we talk about this school-to-prison pipeline that a lot of non-profiteers like to talk about, I'm sorry, I did say that. They never make those connections. But the children who slip through those cracks are also oftentimes forcibly taken from their mamas. And in the case of myself, I had to drop out of school in the 6th grade because if I went into the institutional school, they would immediately call CPS on my mama because she was not a fit parent, because they'd find out that we were on the street. It's a snare set up from the get-up to kick every poor person they get. So I want to call up on this list. First of all, let's give ourselves again a chance. Stop stealing our children! Stop stealing our children! Got to keep that energy up, family, even though I know it's been a long day. But this is the fight, and today has been historic. Thank you. So we're going to call up Sunny Yao.
So many amazing topics talked about today, and my heart wrenches with every single one of them, because I've spent the last 10 years of my life in the most extreme amount of depression after they took my children on alleged drug charges. I never even had a trial or anything. It was just all of a sudden I had no parental rights. I feel that in addition to adjusting, amending, or shutting down CPS, that we need to add more counseling, more grief-stricken circles of people, of women and fathers and family members of children that are missing from their lives, a way to come together as a society and network, a support system. We need emotional support. I feel that there's so many changes that need to be made in our society, and it starts here. In every single one of us, with compassion and love for one another. I identify as a weirdo, and I believe that that was used against me.
Weirdos unite!
I identify as excuse the slang word, I don't know what else to use, but a gypsy. I love to travel. I was traveling with my children, exploring my world. This earth is my home. I am not homeless. This earth cradles me and cradled my children. And then as soon as I started trying to integrate into society, because I thought that was the thing to do, then society came and ripped me apart. And then not necessarily always CPS. It's the social structures that are made by settled people that say, our way is the only way of life. No, there's so many ways of life. We breached it today on the threats, the extermination of the indigenous people of Earth, so they could clean it out, whitewash it for this. We can't live in this big, beautiful building, but you know, there's big, beautiful buildings to live in. We can live under this tree. We should be able to live anywhere we wish, raising our children happily, in peace, with an entire society of Americans and the rest of the world that also lives like that. It shouldn't be a bad thing. I was criticized, I feel I was criticized because I didn't buy my children name brand clothing or items. They said, oh, you gotta have strollers and walkers and plastic this and plastic that. And I said, no, I'm organic. I handmade my children clothing, of which I was criticized for because I couldn't afford them something from the store. I say we encourage handcrafting. We encourage nursing in public. We encourage people to live a more natural lifestyle because the earth can sustain that. It has sustained it for tens and tens of thousands of years. What it cannot sustain is society in general thinking that they deserve a posh and opulent lifestyle. If there's to be opulence, it should be free for everyone to enjoy. And everyone should have a basic standard of human living, basic level of human standards of cleanliness of what we want. How can you criticize a person if they're dirty when there are no showers available for them to clean? How can you criticize a person for not socializing their children when there are no functions available to socialize in? I say that we, the people, have to build networks and availabilities for families to plug into. We can't expect the government to do it. They want money. We could do so much without money. All it takes is human compassion and the time and effort of our own hands, our own hearts, to create safe places for weirdos like me, that we can raise our families in peace without having fear that CPS is looking at us, that some neighbor that is pompous and rude and judgmental is going to look at us and say, that's a bad person, that's a bad parent, they don't deserve to raise their children. We're all humans. Sometimes humans make mistakes. If we make a mistake, we should be told or brought aside and say, hey, we're seeing something. Maybe we can do something different. We all want to learn new things, new ways of parenting. Some of us do terrible things in our minds, and that radiates out to everyone around us. And yes, there are aspects of abuse in the home because a mother's not happy. And I say, wow, there's a home here. It's looked at by the entire rest of the society like, oh, they're really junky, they're really filthy, those kids do not have a good life. Where's the rest of the community rising up and helping that mother to organize the closets, because maybe she doesn't have that skill, but someone else does. If it's possible to do anything at all, as humans, as mothers, as fathers, as networking of our human, animal, and instincts and possibilities, to educate and teach one another and hold each other up in a grander scale, using love as the vehicle, not hatred, not judgments, not condemning. Find the good points and encourage that, and force, if we're going to force something, we need social services. They're a necessary item. People need nutrition assistance. People need welfare. I mean, look at the housing crisis that we're in. People need help. I'm not going to ask a billionaire to pay for all this stuff, although I wish I could. I wish it was right to do that, because how much does a person need? Enough is enough when there's not enough for everybody else. As communities, we need more support systems, and that comes from us. I see it in some of the community members. Now that goes for the traveling community too. That's where I fit in. I am a minority. I want to be free to travel. I wanted to be free to travel with my family. We had fun. There aren't very many points that I can plug in. I can even find a shower somewhere, a hostel, or like a house, a community house to go to and rest off the road a little bit. What's going on with hospitality in America? Are we fiends? Are we all selfish devils? Can we come together and at least build places where people can just rest? What's a restroom? Oh, it's a dirty toilet with a sink. It's not a restroom. You can't rest in there. You go potty. Where are the public restrooms? Where are the public potties? I see San Francisco, people defecating on the sidewalks.
Open the bathrooms.
If there's politicians still listening, I would say start there. Waste not, want not, right? When we have a place where everyone can be comfortable, whether or not they have children, if they do have children, then the children can be free to play as well. Because honestly, we're all children of all ages. We want to play on our earth. We want to enjoy life. We want to say this is a great time. If we can overcome the pain and the trauma and the stress that has happened from CPS stealing our children for their profits, for their game, for their pleasure, to say that they're better than a parent that's now been thrown away, cast out as refuse, to just cry the rest of their lives away every single night wishing they had their children in their arms, and capitulating mental illness and more poverty and more stress. It needs to stop, and we need to open up libraries for counseling services. Anyone who can counsel, we can create so many jobs. If we can counsel parents before we take their children, it's an immediate grab.
Thank you so much. And also just want to lift up that all the folks who are still here, our voices are so important. And I have to let people know who are like, why is it taking so long? We are never listened to in those courts, ever. And so we have all this pain that's stuck in us. That nobody listens to. And that's real. And that's torture. I just want to let you know that I'm going to call up my sister Michelle, co-organizer, and she's going to MC the last part of the open mic. But I also want to let you know that Poor People's Radio is your channel. We are out here on Poor News Network on FaceCrack. You can see all of today. The whole thing is InstaScam Live. Also, though, if you want to do an interview on Poor People's Radio, just DM me at Poverty Scholar or at Poor Magazine, because we understand, as poor and houseless and indigenous black and brown people, we have been silenced for hundreds of years. And the point right now is that our voices actually matter, and they need to be heard. And we are capable of building our own solutions. Do not get it twisted. That shit is not all there is. So let's get Rick Black up here. Give him a big round of applause.
So Rick is a national speaker throughout the United States, and we would just want to welcome him here. He brings a lot of professionalism to our cause.
Thanks, Kathy. Families rise! Michelle, we owe you a huge thanks for what you and the team at Family Rise are doing to elevate the issues that exist in our Department of Health and Human Services, not only at the California level, but at the national level and each state. And most what we're seeing in our courts to exploit families through the dysfunction that exists in our family courts and our probate courts. The biggest line item in the budget for the state of California is the Department of Health and Human Services. Those are services for the people, for you, for our families. It's over $300 billion a year in the state of California. Do you feel that your government is providing you services that serve your families? No! Whether it's the young, our children, our babies, or our parents on the end of life, the abuses that exist within these social services and within the courts that are there to protect us, the people, they're not doing their jobs. They're failing us. And the most important thing that we can do, look, this thing has grown. This started after the First World War. It grew with the programs that were brought in during the Depression in the 1930s. And it's really grown on autopilot as we've attempted to raise our families, to build our estates, to be prepared for the future. And here we find ourselves in 2020 with systems that are run on autopilot and are extremely dysfunctional. We've got to take back these programs for the people. What we did in that building on O Street today to take our message to state leadership is what every Californian needs to do. We own the future only if we take it. Only if we have our voices heard. So I want to thank Michelle. I want to thank everyone who made the trip here to Sacramento. And let's continue to demand to take our courts back, to take our social services back and support our families. Thank you. One other thing, if you're losing your estate in probate, you can get us through our website. It's Seer Justice, www.seerjustice.org. That's CEARJUSTICE.org. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Thank you everyone for being so patient. I know this has been a long day, but we all are here because we're passionate, because this issue, our families, our children mean something. I'm going to ask everyone to please keep it to 2 minutes. I'm going to bring up Sacramento dads. They have the booth over there. They're putting this event, and come up. Give them a round of applause.
Good afternoon. Whew, I've never seen 2 minutes go so doggone long. I'm not going to try to have you guys here too long. But today, as I watched up here, I've heard all those stories, and I was a victim of CPS as well. But I'm not going to go through my story because everybody's already told you all the stories. We know the problem. What is the solution? Consider this. When CPS decides to come to your house and knock on your door and assign a social worker to your house, why can't they assign an attorney to represent you as well? They both come out to your house. Because at the time that the CPS take your kids, you're not represented in any manner. They take your children by themselves and you're not represented. So if they did that, you have an attorney to advise you while CPS is asking you questions on what to say and not to say. You also get an opportunity to develop a relationship with that attorney. You don't get him when you walk into the courtroom and he tell you to sit down and be quiet and don't say nothing. Another solution that I think will be beneficial is that you're told exactly what they claim that you did and not wait until you get into court to do that. When my son was taken from me, they got me for parental manipulation. Okay, this might sound a little crazy, but I told them don't talk to white people. That's what I was told as a kid, and said I passed on to my son, and they took him from me, and they said if he was in danger, because if I did something to him, then he wouldn't tell. So they put me in jail 13 days, drugged me into court. I was looking tore up, drugged me in there. The man told me to sit down. I didn't know what the charge was. They read the charges to me, or they didn't read the charges. They told the judge what was going on. They had never had my input. And then they offered me reunification. So one of the solutions that I'm sharing with you is the reunification that they offered me was a whole pizza with everything on it. You had to go to therapy. You got drug testing. You got to go to a psychiatrist. You got to take a psych eval. Well, maybe I only needed a psych eval. Why not just let me have that? So don't give me the entire pizza. Give me part of that. So I'm talking about we should have targeted program reunification if in fact you are in CPS. So I'm going to not spend 15 minutes. I could easily do that. However, I suggest that when we talk to our legislatures, when we come out here to these events, let's come out here with some solutions. We all know the pain of the problem. We all know the results of the pain of the problem, as we saw those young people that came up here, and that is the result of us spending our time talking about the problem instead of using our time trying to create some solutions. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, I'm Susan Schofield, and I'm going to be very quick about this. I want people to know that and I can guess that everyone who's had a court case here has gone up in the court. Your first hearing, the social worker who wrote the report against you was not there to be cross-examined or to testify. Now, that is a failure of due process. Right away, they started the racketeering. Immediately. It is against CRC. I'm going to let you see this, because my judge, Judge Brett Bianco, committed fraud against the court. He's still doing that. the First Amendment, of course, free speech. I'm under a gag order. I'm not supposed to talk, but oh well, I am. He violated the Sixth Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and what's more important that everybody needs to know about is California Rule of Court 5.674. This says that the court may not consider any report where the social worker is not made available to be cross-examined, meaning that just like in a traffic court situation, if the officer is not there, the case is dismissed. This means that every single case, whether you're guilty or not, I have no idea, but your case needs to be dismissed. They did not follow California Rule of Court 5.674. In fact, they actually did that on purpose. They gave you a sheet of paper that says the social worker will not be there to testify, knowing that they were violating your rights right then and there to traffic you or traffic your kids immediately. You were done before you started. And that is the truth. You can look it up. California Rule of Court 5.674. Rights were violated. I'm going to tell you really quickly. They thought, the assumption was that I over-medicated my children for schizophrenia, autism, intermittent explosive disorder. They were wrong. They knew that immediately, but they still decided to go for broke. 5 days later, because they took my kids, this woman, Judy Thomas, she practices psychotherapy in Washington State now. She left right after our case. She took my kids off of all their medication, cold turkey, lithium, clozaril, Thorazine, okay? Serious medications for serious illnesses given by serious doctors. UCLA, Kaiser, and LAC USC came in as well. They were medicated, and then she took them off. They went into severe withdrawals. It's called antipsychotic discontinuation syndrome. My daughter, Janny, is right here. She nearly died in withdrawals. My son was going crazy, and he was hurting himself and others, but, oh, thank you. Janny, she went through the system. Janny Schofield. Yep. And Janny, what happened to you? How did you nearly die in the system after Judy Thomas took you?
Well, because of the severe medical withdrawals, antipsychotic discontinuation syndrome, I could not stop throwing up. I could not eat nor drink anything, including water, and almost died of dehydration after a few days.
They told me, Judy Thomas said she's got the stomach flu. Now, we have all the medical reports from LAC, USC, UCLA, Kaiser, everywhere that say a different story, but that's not really allowed in court. Also, the doctors who were treating her, my son, they're not allowed in court to testify either. In fact, I have the blood draws that actually show their blood levels, which are fine. There was no crime. And still not allowed in court. Now here's the best part, okay? My son, after all of this, almost 3 years, he's back on the same amount of medication he was on before he was taken when they said I over-medicated him. That's it. That was the case against me. That's it. They were wrong. They know they were wrong. I'm speaking out. They won't give him back right now. They need to give him back. And I'm speaking out. And another thing I want to say really quickly was 3 years ago in May, after they did their whole investigation, the DCFS investigator wrote down there is no evidence to back up any of these allegations. Nevertheless, we're still concerned about the mother. That was it. They're still concerned, never had anything, still don't have anything, and guess what? If they did have anything that they said, I would have been the one locked up 3.5 years ago. Not my daughter, and not my son now. It would have been me, but I'm not because I didn't do anything. Anyway, thank you for listening. I'm Susan Schofield, and thank you everybody for being here. Thank you, Michelle Chan, California Families.
This is about a catharsis when people come to rallies and when they speak and when they participate. But it's not going to solve the problem. We've got a lot of work that we have to do. We have to constantly be in their faces and let them know, go to their district offices. I've been saying for 15 years, go to their district offices, which are probably 15 to 20 minutes away max from wherever you live. Because you only come here once a year. Once a year is not going to cut it. We want to let them know that we make this an issue, just like people on the political stand. When they're running for office, suddenly they care about all these issues, and then when they get elected, they never talk about it again. They're back to talking about whatever's going to get them elected and re-elected. And one thing is, Nelson Mandela said, you can judge a society by the way in which it treats its children. And our society, our country, and the world have totally fucked up how they treat children. They talk about how they care about the elderly, they talk about how they care about children, and then they screw them every way they can. They basically make money off of them. That's all that it's about.
Everyone, welcome Quanah Parkman.
Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Quanah Parker Brightman. I'm Executive Director of the United Native Americans. And just to give a brief synopsis of who we are as UNA. We were founded in 1968 in the Greater Bay Area of San Francisco. We were involved in the takeover of Alcatraz, Wounded Knee, a couple long walks across country. Led a group one time that took over Mount Rushmore and reclaimed it for my nation, the Lakota Nation. Now, what I'm here today is to bring voice to the voiceless, which is, of course, the indigenous population whose land everyone here is illegally occupying, who isn't a tribal citizen, who isn't enrolled in a tribe. Now, today, we had a very historic day for us as Native American people. Today, the U.S. Department of Interior finally released a report detailing the findings of the federal Indian boarding school system. That's a very big thing. They finally did something about this. Now, United Native Americans has testified in multiple Senate hearings back in the 1960s to expose what's been going on with the American Indian boarding school system. My father, Dr. Lehman Brightman, did all that work and exposed that even on Phil Donahue. There's actual footage on Phil Donahue's show of this particular work. Now, today, United Native Americans demands the U.S. Supreme Court and all family courts operating within all 50 states of the United States of America comply and enforce the Indian Child Welfare Act. Here in Sacramento, at the William R. Ridgway Family Relations Courthouse, they are guilty of not adhering to California law AB 3176. The Indian Child Welfare Act is a federal law that explicitly gives tribes the right to intervene in any state court child welfare proceedings related to custody of a Native American child whose parents are facing termination of their parental rights. My daughter, Lusan Liberator Miranda Brightman, is an enrolled tribal citizen of my nation, the Lakota Nation, and is entitled to Public Law 95-608, which enforces the Indian Child Welfare Act here in the state of California. But her mother is a parental alienator. She claims to be some kind of spiritual leader up here in this community as a dansante. But I don't know any real spiritual leaders that carry hatred and anger in their heart towards people that they actually at one time loved and created life with. I, as her daddy, Lusan's daddy, am very disappointed in the recent appointment of Judge Jill H. Talley's decision to ignore the documented CPS report of abuse Lusan has suffered while in custody at her mother's house, Miss Xochitl Miranda, and 2 police reports against Xochitl Miranda. I am appealing this judge's decision and asking for a change of venue while I work on a recall of her. Family court's violation of federal laws and extensive history of human trafficking of indigenous people through the American Indian boarding school system, which was founded in 1878 by Captain R.H. Pratt. And the CPS studies reveal that large numbers of Native American children were being separated from their families. We found that 25 to 35% of Native American children were removed. And of these, 85% were placed outside of their families and communities in violation of federal law, even when fit and willing relatives were available. Congressional testimony documented the devastating impact that this has had upon Native American children, families, and tribes. The intent of Congress under the Indian Child Welfare Act was to protect the basic interests of Indian children and to promote the stability and security of Indian tribes and families. The Indian Child Welfare Act sets federal requirements that apply to state custody child proceedings involving an Indian child who is a degree of or eligible for membership in a federally recognized tribe. My daughter falls under this criteria. That is why I've been waiting patiently all day. And yes, I'm a nationally known leader. I have kicked the hell out of Donald Trump. I am no fan of fascist white people. I am no fan of white supremacists. And I'm no fan of this ugly, corrupt system that is here illegally occupying land and needs to actually give reparations to my people and to all people of color who've been oppressed. Thank you very much.
Separation is abuse.
Yes.
Separation is
Isolation is abuse.
Yes.
Having your kids taken away from you is abuse.
Yes.
Having our elderly separated from us, those who we love, is abuse. My name is Angelique Fawcett. I'm the CEO of Archangel Films LA. I'm a producer, executive producer. I'm an activist for Free Nichelle. Nichelle Nichols is the lady who played Lieutenant Uhura on original Star Trek. I'm gonna place this right here. Nichelle has been like a second mother to me. I also stood up with the Free Britney movement and marched all year with them. When I see all of you out here today, and it's been a long day, but I thank every single person who planned this event. And thank you so much for Kathy Rodriguez and Vitas Gist for inviting me. Let me not take too much time. This shit is painful as fuck.
Yes.
And I'm gonna tell this like it is. Nichelle Nichols was a well woman in 2013. Her family tried to place her in a rest home and wrongfully claimed that she had dementia in 2013. She cried in the rest home that she was in, tears rolling down her face because she knew she didn't belong there and she wanted to get out. Eventually, she got out of the rest home. After that, she got a power of attorney in which I was second on. She asked me to make a video of her to state what she wanted in her final years. I did so. I said, Nichelle, what do you want me to do with this? Keep it. If anyone ever tries to put me in a rest home again or harm me, stand up for me and have my back. I kept that video for 6 years. I watched as her son did not show up for her, did not come but maybe 1 or 2 times in 6 years. She sat alone on Christmas. She sat alone on Thanksgiving. She sat alone on her birthday. Finally, her ex-talent manager, things started missing off of the walls. Bills weren't paid. Her home was in decay. Where's her family? This is a woman who called me like a second mother to her. My parents are deceased. I took care of them from illness to death. And this promise I made to Nichelle was real as all get out. and I wasn't about to not stand up for her. So today, I continue to stand up for Nichelle Nichols' rights. I have fought for her rights in court for 4 years on my own time. I will continue to fight for her. I sit and I watch as the son and the talent manager throw stones at each other, yet no one wants to hear the victim's voice. APS, CPS, children, the elderly, it is all the same. Your rights, your kids' rights are being stripped from you and from your loved ones. That is why I am here. I was humbled by my team that took me over to the Capitol because as a CEO and filmmaker, I never had to go and speak to lawmakers in that capacity. I was humbled to tears to watch my friends speak about their parents who are starving and they can't even give them water in a rest home. Children that they cannot see. Victims, child victims around here who have been walking around who got out of the CPS system. What I have to say today is I continue to fight, and I'm so glad that there were so many people here. Continue to fight! We are here. We are powerful. We are one. It doesn't matter how many people are here today. I think there was hundreds. I don't know. But across the nation, there are all of us getting together, standing together, fighting and standing up for those we love. No one will stop us. Isolation is abuse. Separation is abuse. And no longer will we allow our children, our elderly, our good friends, people we look out for to be harmed. Stand up. We're all one. Thank you. Yes, please visit Free Nichelle. Thank you. Hashtag Free Nichelle. Thank you so much.
That was just wonderful, and we'll be talking more about it because we should all connect and make sure that we help empower each other and so that we can be a stronger fighting force. Anyway, next person, let's see, Felicia Clark, I think you spoke before.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, it is afternoon here in Sacramento, where I'm originally from. And I don't have a lot to say, because I was invited to come down here today. And what I'm hearing about children. I'm hearing about mothers. I'm hearing about parents. I'm hearing about someone being related to that child that's being abused. And I'm an original Black Panther. And I'm older right now. I say all power to the people. Because the 10-point platform and program that we had was to serve the community. And that means to serve the communities, families, with clinics, with free food programs, free clothing program. Education was the number one thing that we fought for our children. They're number one. They are number one. And that's what we need to let the politicians know. It's about the children first. The children come first. You know, they have very creative minds. They're born with that. This young lady, Michelle, I don't know where she went, but what she was speaking on, to have a child taken away from you, to have a baby taken away from you, your own child to be taken away from you is traumatic enough. But then to put a label on it and say you're an unfit mother, something's wrong with the system. It's definitely something wrong with the system. And I know it can be fixed. We just need to stop calling each other names, come together, sit down, because all of us, women have children. That's what we're equipped with. That's how God built us. You know, so you can't stop a woman from having a child. You can't blame a woman for having a child. I'm childless. I was childless. I have one child. She's a miracle child. But the system took the rest of my children away because they felt that welfare parents were eating up the system. So they had to come up with some plan to keep us young folks from having children. I mean, what about our rights? I wanted to have 10 or 15 children. Yes, I did. Yes, I wanted to have a lot of children. They're a blessing. They will take care of you when they get older because they see that you're taking care of them. But when you abuse them, they can't love you. You can't get the love that you need from a child if you abuse them. If you don't give a child the love, they won't receive it. And all I'm saying to all these parents and all the people that are out here that brought this issue out today, I'm with you. I support you 100%. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
My name is Arlington Jones. I'm the grandfather of 4 children in Fresno County custody. My daughter, come here, daughter. Where you at? This is my daughter who they took 4 children from. This is who I'm representing. This is who her mother's representing. We all here. We have been going through this since October of 2020. Now, I know some of you have been gone longer, but 17 months pretending that you don't have children when you were there from day one. 17 months for this mother to pretend like she didn't go through 3 years of pregnancy to bring those 4 children into this world. They didn't give her parental rights. How are they gonna take them away from her? They didn't give those children the wisdom and knowledge they have. Their family circle did. The fact that they are so intelligent, so mannerable, I believe is an asset that they probably see as a reason for a sales incentive. See, there's twins, a boy and a girl. Oh, that's a set right there. Then you got a 12-year-old daughter who they want to put into a foster home with who knows what pervert might be waiting for her to grow up and develop and da-da-da-da-da. Oh yeah, if you can think it, it can happen. Because there are many sexually abused children in this system. You trade them off, and that husband or that uncle or even that woman might have some future plans for that child that's not related to them, but they got their paperwork. My daughter, I have watched her go through so many phases since this began. I have seen her suffer, trying to, I guess you could say pretend, doing anything to keep her mind preoccupied, because if it's not, it's right back on her children, and she's miserable, just in that instant, pretending not to be a parent, knowing your children have been abused within the system, and told that you can't take pictures of that. You can't take pictures of your children's abusive scars. Oh yeah, she saw them on a visit, and they told her she couldn't take pictures of that because it would exploit the children, get them in trouble. We have to wonder what, I mean, the biggest thing to me is the fact that they don't have to account for nothing they say, nothing they do. They take my grandchildren, move them around like chess pieces, play this game of life with their lives, and have a whole ocean of families suffering because we don't know where they are. We don't know what they're telling them. Okay, can you imagine? I haven't forgot what it was like, the heart of a child. I know every Disney song, all the princesses, because of my grandchildren, all the theme songs. I still know how to do Oh Mary Mac because of my daughter, my granddaughters, okay? Because of my granddaughters, I paint my fingernails to make it just that much more fun for them to be with their grandpa. What are they telling them when these kids are asking, why can't we go home? I just can't foresee a child who is not with endless tears. Endless tears. I would be crying every day because I know you lying to me. You lying to me. My mama loved me. My grandparents loved me. All I remember is love. And you are telling me that it's not safe for me to go home now? That my parents don't love me? That they don't care about me? What could you be telling these kids that's pacifying them every day that you have them in custody? You have to be lying. You cannot be possibly telling them the truth, because if you told them the truth, they'd be crying every day to go home to their parents. You have to be telling them something, some kind of lie that motivates a child to just be patient, to say, okay, well, maybe. See, we don't know. All we can do is guess. And that right there, that is the transparency problem. That's the unaccountability problem. Think about it. You don't have to account for anything you do on your job. You can do whatever you want to do with somebody else's property. And that's exactly what they think these children are, property. They think they can put them on a podium and auction them off to the highest bidder. Separate them so that they can sell them like a set of twins. They're not going to separate a set of twins because, what foster parent wouldn't want that set? A boy and a girl. Wow. What perverted parents wouldn't want a 12-year-old developing black girl that's developing into a young lady now, who has went through her cycle now, experiencing growing up in the feelings of a woman, have to be raised up in a strange environment with strange people and learn new ways. And guess what? Can possibly even change their name. Can take them out of this country. And we don't know nothing about it. Can't do anything about it. Yeah, once they become legal parents, adoptive parents, they can take those kids anywhere they want to and don't have to tell nobody. And what are we fighting for? I'm gonna tell you right now, the weakness ain't there, because I'm not gonna quit. I was told, you guys have motivated me in a way. I thought I couldn't hold back the tears. But you guys have given me strength. You guys know that I'm not alone. You guys let me know that my daughter is not alone. And we're not gonna stop. I'm gonna let them know. I'm gonna write the letters. I'm gonna put the pictures in the fax machines. I'm gonna tell you what, send fax to Governor McGavin. That internet, he ain't looking at it. Blow his fax machine up till the paper's falling on the floor with pictures of children and letters from parents in pain, families wrecked. And I have felt the blows of what they have done as far as the beginning ingredients of breaking up a family where you're arguing amongst yourself. You're blaming this and you're trying to find blame, but there's no one in your family to blame. There's no one in your family to blame. There's a bottom line to everything. Either you take responsibility for it or you put it where it really belongs. Right here is CPS. CPS twisting up our history, doing little spontaneous background checks just to eliminate people in your family. People who haven't even been background checked yet. I have my wife's uncle is here. He hasn't even been checked out, and he has a big old giant house. Yeah, but they ain't checked him out. I got people all over this country ain't checked out. They got people all over this country. Haven't done a thorough background check to make sure that these children end up with blood family, period. Because that family is gonna at least make sure that the one that was taken from is gonna be able to visit, see, and have some type of influence in that child's life. So I just wanna tell you, I thank you very much. I'm glad we came together today. I'm going to go home because now, see, on top of this, I got a sister in the hospital I got to go check on. So it don't make no things, that's not making anything easier with this CPS. My darling daughter, Ashley, I want you to know you're in my prayers every day. I love you with all my heart. No matter what nobody do, no matter what you do, can't nobody stop that. Because I'm your daddy, and I love you and my grandchildren. I always will, no matter what. And I won't stop this fight until we win, okay?
So I know we're all facing this way to share our stories, but I'm gonna turn my back on you guys to talk to them. My children have been in foster home almost 2 years. When I came and asked you guys for help because I had just had a miscarriage to a child due to health issues. And 6 months after, their father was murdered. Someone who served this country, someone that went overseas and fought for this country was murdered, and that was their father, and I didn't have nowhere to go with my kids. I had nowhere to call home. COVID hit, everything was closed. I went to the next thing I thought of, which was mental health, because it was too much for me. Too much not to have anywhere to sleep with my kids besides my car. Nowhere to go get food from because I didn't have money. I was hurting from losing a child. I was hurting from losing my husband. And you guys thought that the best thing for me and my kids was for you guys to house them somewhere else because my mental health was not okay. Was your mental health okay if you lost a kid? If your husband was murdered? Up to this day, there has not been justice for my husband. Up to this day, my kids are in foster home. I was told, don't go, don't speak, don't share your story because it will affect your case. No, you're not going to silence me because my kids need to be home. My kids need to come home. I'm not a bad mother. Yes, there's cases out there that some parents have hurt their children, but I'm not like them. I'm an individual. Don't compare me to them. What their mistakes, this their mistakes, not mine. Lancaster DCFS has told me because of the cases that have happened here, you had to fight harder for your kids. It's not my fault what other parents did to theirs. I went and asked for help, and this is what you guys chose to do. I want justice. I want my kids to come home because they need to come home. There is no one else that's going to love them like I do, like their mother. Stay together. Let's put an end to this. We're all individuals. We're not all the same. Power to the people.
Hi everybody. So I have two different cases in two different counties that were running at the same time. One was closed, the other one's still open. So I can't really talk about it. Sorry, my daughter wants to join me. What I can say is that I know that our civil rights violations, like pretty much in every CPS case, has been occurring. I'm aware that the attorneys, the public defenders, don't really defend us in court, nor do they present our evidence, which doesn't give us exactly a legal standing for the judge in the superior courts. On top of that, the judges always kind of side with CPS, which gives us a really unfair standing in the courts. And on top of that, they violate our rights to our children every day. They also take kids without having their due process, and sorry, my daughter. We really need to fight and get a big crowd and get more people to join these rallies because I don't think that we're going to be heard too much unless we start having lots and lots of bigger crowds. I'm glad everyone's here today, and I'm glad people have actually showed up. But, sorry, my daughter's distracting. She's so cute. We really need to fight for our children and fight for our rights. I think that it starts with taking away CPS's immunity. That would be the biggest thing, is to take away their immunity. Also, judges and CPS should all be held accountable for all the families that they have violated. And then on top of that, our parenting rights. We need more of a strict guidance in the juvenile dependency, because hearsay is allowed in the courts when in every other court it's not allowed. Criminals have more rights than parents do in these courts. And another thing is that nobody understands how severe that is, that if you're in a domestic violent relationship and you're going against your partner in the court and you guys are separated, a lot of people don't understand that CPS will usually side with the abuser, and they have a tendency to be biased against the victims in these cases. That's what has happened in one of my cases, Nevada County, California. And I don't have the right to visit my child right now, nor do I have, they took away my legal custody with no actual grounding and reasoning to take it away, but that case is closed. So I am gonna be able to talk about that case, and I plan to sue the county and sue the service providers because they've lied in the court reports about me. They've gone as far as to put in the court reports a misdiagnosis that's pretty severe that'll keep custody out of my hands for a really long time. So I have to prove against that. And I don't know where to start, but I'm starting here by talking to everybody and hoping for my voice and everybody else's voice here to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassandra, and one of her daughters. Let's see, one of the things, she mentioned about CPS and all that, family court. I think we need to shut them down permanently. The other thing about it, too, is we need to end Social Security Title 4D and 4E, which incentivizes every single county court house in the United States and every CPS office in the United States, in every county, to get a 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1, or 4-to-1 match. No governors have ever turned their back on that money. That's blood money to me. And if we end that, we can change things in the system. But so long as they have that money, that's the lifeblood of the system, and every one of our children and every one of us represents, we're cash cows for them. We need to change that dynamic totally. Next speaker, last speaker is my friend Paul Guevara. Come on, Paul.
I'm the quiet one in the bunch here, but I've been going at this for a few years now, and I just want to give you guys credit because I think we're all the ones affected if we stayed it out the longest. I'd like to give a shout out to all the people that I've known over the years and still continue to come, and that's what it's going to take, is just keep coming back, and we need each other, really. A lot of times, even myself, I felt fear protesting in front of courthouses, getting surrounded by cops, and actually getting threatened to be locked up in a courtroom by a judge himself for contempt. So it's not easy speaking your mind, and sometimes you gotta, I don't know what you gotta do, but we got each other, and I appreciate everyone here. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
All right, Paul. And now the really next speaker is going to be Carrie Shaw, and she's from Stanislaus County. Met her a couple months ago. And anyway, she needs some assistance down there. She's sort of like the lone wolf holding down the fort down there, but she also needs help on her own case.
Hi guys, good afternoon. We have been so excited to come to this event today. We've been talking about it since we found out from Michelle Chan. Thank you guys for putting this on. I think it's really a big deal that people come out and support the family rights movement. This has been a silent movement for a very long time. For those of us that have been working behind the scenes, fighting these corrupt officials, we felt hopeless. And so when the public comes out, when the private comes out into the public and we start talking about what the Constitution actually means to this country, our country has fallen away from the Constitution, and these Article 3 courts that the federal courts are our only remedy. So what I would suggest that people do is to get out of the state courts. Take your claims to federal, make them answer to you, prosecute your own case. When someone violates your rights, you have every right to redress a grievance. When someone puts you in a situation where your rights have been violated, you absolutely have the right to seek your redress. So that's what we did in Stanislaus County. We created a Facebook page, we created a group, we put up a billboard in that county. Just yesterday, we got news that Sandra Lucas, the head mediator, who squandered families, their estates through conservatorships, guardianships, and trafficking children either to foster care or guardianship, separating them from their familial associations, just retired yesterday. So I'd like to put this down. Thank you. Sandra Lucas is gone. So we all know that in each county there are those players, and the biggest thing you can do is expose them. A good friend of mine is standing off over here to the left. Her name's Juliet with Broken Girl Unchained podcast. You guys can check that out, how we're exposing people in our county, and get some ideas. But this sign says, and this is for my daughter Penelope, who's been trafficked to Los Angeles, take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. So what you bring into the light, they can no longer do. So you create change for the other people in your community. They may have damaged your family, but it's not forever. You can win this fight. So right now I'm being maliciously prosecuted. I'm running 4 different cases. They call me Miss Pro Se after they created false cases against me to try to make me go away, because we created this platform to expose what they were doing to families. And they're targeting me, and I'm okay with that, and I'd welcome them to continue to do that, because we're here for the long haul. We're not going away. So thank you guys.
Sorry guys, I wasn't gonna speak because I thought it was important to let everyone that had their name on this list speak, and I wanted to make sure that everyone had that opportunity. But you know what? I want to speak in front of this Capitol with this equipment that I rented. So I'm not going to introduce myself because most of you know who I am. Imagine this. Imagine being a child and losing everything you've ever known or loved in the blink of an eye. Your house, your pets, your home, your community. Everything just gone. And now all around you, all you see is darkness, and all you feel is pain and loneliness. This is the reality for far too many children ripped from their parents and then left to rot in foster care. We as a society must work at all costs to keep families together, because family destruction in itself is child abuse. And so today I'm going to share my personal story, and then I'm going to talk about some of the issues and propose a solution. I was abused and neglected as a child. And at 14, I was raped in a filthy, abandoned house that reeked of mold and urine and decay. I will never forget how disgusting and helpless I felt at that moment. And for so long, I carried with me the scars. And the weight of it all caused me to struggle with substance abuse, unemployment, and housing insecurity. Then one day, I met a handsome and charming man. And he swept me off my feet. He said, "Come with me to California. Marry me, we'll have a family." And so I left all that shit behind, and I came out here chasing what I thought was the American dream. Well, I'm sure most of you aren't too surprised. The marriage was doomed. My husband was abusive. And after our son was born, I was trapped with nowhere to go and nowhere out. And so what do you think happened when I went to get help? That's right. Child Protective Services tore my son from me and thrust me into an unimaginable, never-ending nightmare. I, the victim of domestic violence, was charged with failure to protect. My son eventually came home.
But after he did for so many months, he woke up in the night screaming. Have you ever heard the screams of a tormented child? They pierce the heart like a searing hot sword. You know, I still advocate for children and families today. Because when I close my eyes, I still hear his cries. And I still feel his pain. How many children are out there just like my son, suffering because they want to come home? So why is this happening? This is happening because Child Protective Services lacks accountability, oversight, and transparency. This is a system where you are guilty until proven innocent. Children can be removed from parental custody without a warrant based on allegations alone before anyone has had a chance to defend themselves in court. I ask you, where is the justice when children are removed for minor issues? And then in the worst case scenarios, they're placed in foster care and group homes where they are starved, raped, beaten, murdered, and trafficked. Family separation is state-sanctioned violence. This system needs to be either abolished or radically transformed. Social workers lie, and no one is getting fair trials. And so today we stand here as a collective power united, as families united, we resist together to demand an end to the oppressive, unjust, dehumanizing practices of the family policing system, to demand effective and competent counsel right from the onset, to demand a repeal of the Adoption and Safe Families Act, which fuels the destruction of American families by incentivizing forced adoption. We are all here today because we, the parents, we, the families, are fed up. We're here today to send a message to the world that the families have united and we are coming for our children. We're coming for our grandchildren, our brothers, our sisters, our nieces, our nephews. We have united and we are coming for our children, our families. Together, we can and will change the world. And so finally, I want to leave you guys today with a poem that I wrote called Shadows. Because the sun don't shine here no more, the world is not itself. No laughter, no purpose, no common sense, and yet the vaguest memories of my son still linger. I walk past empty playgrounds, see my son's empty bed and his toys all gathering dust. The stab of loneliness is unbearable. If only I could smoke away the hurt. If only I could shoot myself into another existence. I want out, but there is no escape because to run away would be to abandon my son, to abandon all hope. And so I stay. Here in the darkness I fight. And I will keep fighting. Even long after I find my own light and my own son comes home, I will fight for all the children. I will fight until all the light returns and all the children are home. I will fight until this madness is over. Rise up and fight with me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, go Michelle.
Anyway, thank you guys for the troopers that stayed all the way to the end. And everyone, thank you for coming.
Michelle. Thank you,
Thank
Michelle.
you.
Thank you.
When I talk.
Take care. Yeah, good to meet you. Yeah.
I know, I kind of wish I did it earlier.
Let's have a big round of applause for Michelle and all the other organizers and people, and for you folks who showed up today, and the other folks who've already left. So thank you, because without you, we couldn't do this. You inspire us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.